muzo ndani ya bunge. Kasema hapana ndani ya bunge. Wabunge mmepiga mnada. Mnanoa bunge kama mbuzi kwa mnada. Tukasema mazungumzo itafanyika nje ya bunge. Itakuwa wakilishi ni wa bunge lakini nje ya bunge. Kama ile bwana Kofi Annan. Na kama wameshakuelewana, hiyo itapelekwa ndani ya bunge kupitishwa. Sawa sawa? Hiyo ni sharti, haturudi nyuma.
Odinga says that there is need to streamline the matters ailing citizens and that it cannot be achieved if the rivalry with government is not resolved. He reiterated his call for peace, insisting that the anti-government protests are anchored on the foundation of peace. This as President William Ruto urged leaders to stay clear from putting the lives and businesses of Kenyans at risk and seek other channels to achieve their objectives. The head of state urging the leaders to take advantage of the bipartisan talks scheduled to take place in Parliament and allow him to deliver upon his mandate Kenyans. He added that political dialogue cannot be achieved through demonstrations but through sensible talks.
Walete kamati yao, sisi tumetengeneza kamati yetu, waketi chini, waongee, ile watakubaliana, tupeleke Kenya mbele, lakini waniwachie nafasi nipange mambo ya maendeleo ya taifa letu la Kenya na wananchi wa taifa letu la Kenya.
And NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua has warned police officers against following illegal orders during protests. Speaking at Azimio la Umoja Coalition's public baraza in Kamkunji grounds, Karua told police they should not accept to be used to punish Kenyans. Karua alleged that police officers had orders to kill Azimio leaders during anti-government protest. Karua condoled with families who lost loved ones during Azimio demos and the recent protest in Yucatan. She argued that protests are enshrined in the Constitution and do not require the permission of President William Ruto.
Tuko tayari kufanya maandamano ya amani na tuko tayari kupigania haki zetu. Tumekubaliana ya kwamba hatutarudi nyuma mpaka tupate haki yetu. Haki ya kwanza, kuona kila Mkenya akona chakula kwa meza yake. Kuona bei ya unga imeteremka mpaka shilingi 100. Kuona ya kwamba karo ya shule imeteremka. Watoto wote wetu warudi wapi? Ni watoto wengi sana wako nyumbani leo hii.
Meanwhile, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has intimated that Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka would have been awarded the mandate of leading the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if he chose to join the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Speaking at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos, Gachagua said that President William Ruto had intended to make Kalonzo the cabinet secretary for the ministry up until he insisted on remaining in the Azimio la Umoja coalition. President Ruto was gracious nonetheless that he chose to return the position to Kambani and award it to Alfred Mutua, who is the current CS holding the docket. And the Deputy President Gachagua has revisited his conversation with the U.S. Senator Chris Coons, revealing that he turned down an offer for dialogue with opposition leader Raila Odinga. Gachagua claimed on Inoro TV that Senator Coons, who had urged dialogue as a way to resolve the crisis in Kenya, was unable to explain why Trump had not spoken with his vice president following the fallout from the most recent U.S. election. The United States read from a different script to resolve its political crisis, according to Gachagua, who ruled out the possibility of a handshake between Raila Odinga, the leader of the opposition in Kenya, and the Kenya Kwanza government. And the Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the warring parties in Sudan. President William Ruto asked IGAD leaders to take a firm position on the crisis to resolve peace in the country. The president spoke during a virtual meeting with the IGAD heads of state on the deteriorating security in Sudan. Those in emergency session were President Salva Kiir of South Sudan, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Ismail Omar Gule of Djibouti, and Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud of Somalia. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We just had on the floor of parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe za baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Well, not much traffic yet at this time of the day. It's early morning, it's early on Monday, but we expect that things are going to change. Jogoo Road, Mombasa Road, Thika Superhighway, Kiambu Road, nothing much report, although there's already a build-up of traffic around Muthaiga interchange with the Thika Superhighway and at Kangundo Road and Jogoo Road at Donholm. This is the intersection with Manyanja Road and Lunga Road. But let's look at how it will be looking like in about half an hour.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes
Good
in
morning.
punching
How
up,
you doing?
not down.
Welcome to Monday.
This
Kenya's
is the
biggest conversation after the weekend. 17th day of April 2023. Eric Latif and C.T. Muga. Ndu is still away. She's back in the country. She's just now recharging. Yeah, recuperating from that whole nice buzz of spending time with family. Now she's coming back to earth. C.T. Mambo.
Fit kabisa.
How was the weekend?
Quiet.
Like that too. Easy
Yes.
peasy.
Very easy, very relaxed.
Lemon squeezy.
Something of that sort. Lemon and everything else. Yes, but it was quiet.
That's
cold though.
Buana.
Cold.
Buana.
But quiet.
Yeah, it was a properly wet weekend. It was a wet weekend. But you know, all this, you know, we talk about our food security, this country, I was just thinking about it yesterday. This country has been talking about irrigation for 60 years plus. Okay? We have irrigation schemes. When I was in primary school, we were learning about irrigation schemes.
And they existed.
Several irrigation schemes across the country. We have, but yet here we are. This rain would have been enough to actually feed this country. And enough to grow food for export.
Eric, did we not continuously say, folks, are we building appropriate water capturing facilities? Dams take a bit of time before they actually get there. And the ones we have, are we making sure that all the silt that has accumulated over time has been removed? Are we dredging our rivers? Are we just the things you do in preparation?
Yeah.
Okay? If it's in town, these stormwater drainages, are we ensuring that they're not clogged so that water can actually pass through? Simple things that can be done.
You know?
And there's a ministry that has the facility, has the means to do these things. Then we kept quiet and then the rains came.
And here we are.
Lo
and behold.
And we're still going to be talking about irrigation. We're still going to be. By the way, we no longer talk about 100 dams. No, that story has ended. We're talking about something else. But we do not need to build those mega dams for us to be able to harvest water. Not necessarily. The ones we have, if they're maintained, they will change many things. And all those water pans and all those water facilities, water harvesting facilities that we said we're going to have.
Yeah.
Simple. But we will talk about irrigation.
Aye.
And you are right, Eric. This rainfall has been plenty.
It's a lot of rain.
It's a lot of rain.
It's a lot of rain.
And it's going to waste.
Had we spent all those years instead of just
talking,
actually making sure that we can capture the air, because even all those irrigation areas that we have, they rely on rivers.
They do.
It's either rivers, it's actually all of them.
It's river.
It's all river. It's nothing like there's a proper catchment.
Don't rely on rivers.
Si. You want to bure kabisa. Binadam ya mafia kuku.
Well, Kibaki had his say, didn't he? Looked at it, decided, here, you guys.
Yeah, nyinyi bure. Nyinyi bure.
Bure kabisa.
Toto. Anyway, let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. So this week, you know the AGOA agreement, it's called what? The African Growth and Opportunity Act. So Kenya has been enjoying this AGOA for the last how many years?
It's been
so like 23 years or something. It's coming to an end this year or next year, and therefore we need to prepare ourselves. prepare ourselves. So that's why Kenya started some talk with America to have some new trade pact. It was started in the Donald Trump administration. The Biden administration came in and said, no, let's review this thing. So now it's been reviewed, and the officials from Kenya and the US Biden administration are going to be having talks this week on this new trade pact. So what's it going to look like? What are the pros? What are the cons? We're going to have two people. One of them is the deputy ambassador to Kenya in the US, deputy ambassador of Kenya to the US.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that way. And but unfortunately, he won't be able to join us. But we'll be having Edgar Odari, who is the executive director of Econews Africa. He's been here before talking about various trade pacts, including the Kenya-UK trade pact. So he'll come today at 7 a.m. to talk about this one, the pros and cons of the proposed Kenya-USA trade pact. 8 o'clock, let's talk politics. Peter Mushendo, governance expert, and Mundalo Advice, who is the national youth chair of the Jubilee Party. They'll be here with us. Peter Mushendo is a self-confessed UDA supporter, and they'll be here. Let's talk about politics. Are we in the right track? Is the UDA Kenya Kwanza administration delivering on the promises that it had made? So this and more coming up on the show today. 17 minutes after 6. Good morning. Let's take this break. Live stream is up on Spice FM KE on YouTube and Spice FM KE on Facebook. Are you online? Let us know where you're locked in from, and we will do the usual shout outs shortly. Okay, how's the weather going to look like today across the country? Let me tell you. Nairobi, cloudy and skies at 16. And Mombasa, mostly clear at 25. Mostly clear in Malindi at 26. Clear in Kisumu at 20. Nyeri, clear at 16. Nakuru, clear at 15. Kakamega, clear at 16. And Eldoret, clear at 14. Kampala, cloudy at 20. Johannesburg, cloudy at 9. Dar es Salaam, cloudy at 24. Kinshasa, cloudy at 24. Lagos, cloudy at 27. London, cloudy at 10. New York, cloudy at 14. Paris, cloudy at 5. It's cloudy everywhere. Okay, who is online? Let me tell you at 19 minutes after 6. Starting on YouTube, Sadiya Dahir says, good morning, Spice FM, tuned in from Oslo, Norway. Edward Muniu is in Nairobi. Rajab Hatibu says it's in Mombasa. Good morning, Mwalimu City and Mr. Latif Salimia. Salamu zimfikie Ednah na Ndu popote walipo, listening in from Mombasa. Karo Nyambura, good morning to this wonderful team. Looking forward to today's conversation. Good morning, Karo. Geraldine Ochieng, good morning. Good morning to you, Willis. Good morning from Nairobi. Who else is online from across the country? Either of Francis. Good morning, Spice. Tuned in from Mombasa County. Have a lovely one. Ame Flame Flipped Morning Crew. Tuned in from Bondo, Kachola, Awasi. Robin Bogo. Good morning from Mombasa. The Muchanja wa Kabras. This is Maurice Werengai Nyongesa wa Muchanja Kabras. Stanley Ngasha good morning team. TSR from Juja Farm, aka Mount Kilimambogo View City. How do you guys in Muhoroni breathe? Because of why?
I'm wondering the same. Perhaps if you could expound on it.
Stanley, what do you mean, how do they breathe? Okay. Morning, 001 County Locked, Roger Sly. Good morning to you too. John Wakiriaine, of course, is in Kiriaine. Streaming in from Mombasa, Kisauni is Alhaji Fashion. Paul Mugo Nanyuki is tuned in. Bambuayira Alex, live straight out of Doha, Qatar. Kenyatta University following Overseer Fred Wanjohi. Kanan Akudo, you said only a foolish woman can trust the promise of a naked man. Yeah, that's what he said. Hesbon Nalianya, good morning. Mitume Kitale tuned in. MCA James Kimanzi, MCR, good morning. Nyali tuned in. Willie Bazoo Kitale, well represented. Good morning, guys. Kibera Darajani Slums, listening now. Henry Malumu, good morning to Sir Bramwell Boke Keddy, who says is also tuned in. Good morning from Malindi, Abednego Mwamburi. Everybody who's here, you are many. Tobias Nyongesa in Kimilili, Atieno Jermaine Jackson, always tuned in from County 042. Mainge wa Wambui, sometimes it's just too much. May God heal every soul. Yeah. Dan Kuto, good morning. Wishing you a blessed one from Eldoret. Everybody, karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. City?
Yes.
The day's proverb.
Yes, today we move, we're still in the same region, but we move to the country of Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso was known as Upper Volta. That's what the name it was given. Derived from the River Volta. Okay? French colony till 1960 when they got their independence. Current population, 21 million. Now, if there is a country that has had coups and attempted coups,
it is Burkina.
It is Burkina. My friend, they have had many. 1966, 1980, 1982, 1983, 1987. Now, the one which beat everything, in 2022, twice.
2 coups in a year.
2 coups in a year. One earlier on in the year, one towards the end of the year. And then attempted coups, 2. 1981, 2015.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The capital?
The capital is Ouagadougou.
Ouagadougou. Okay.
But I should mention of interest that the reason why it is called Burkina Faso, remember this is the name that was given to it by one Thomas Sankara. Okay? This is a leader who took over the country. Pity. He came in and brought in very many changes. He came in 1987, my friend, 1982 and 1987. He was overthrown by a gentleman by the name of Blaise Compaoré. Okay? Who was president until 2014. This is a country where this thing of transition that one president leaves and the other one comes in. They think it's a bit unnecessary. It's too much. Yeah. Why do you do such things when you can actually just take over? But Thomas Sankara brought many changes. Now, I was looking at some of the changes that he brought about in the country. And what I found amazing, apart from just nationwide literacy, land redistribution to people who didn't have land, building railway roads, he outlawed FGM, which means that country practiced FGM. He outlawed forced marriages. Now wait for it. Polygamy.
He outlawed polygamy.
Yes.
Why?
I think he looked and said, no, this thing is not helping people. And it's bringing about a lot of problems. But let me just mention the name Burkina Faso.
They are only 21 million.
Yes, only 21 million.
And they were not 21 million then.
No, at that time they were not. Right now they are about 21 million. Burkina Faso, the name is from 2 languages. Burkina, okay? Mosi language, meaning upright. Faso is a Diola language, meaning fatherland, motherland. Now, of course, if you throw that together, it is the land of the honest men, incorruptible men.
It's the land of the honest man.
Yes. Now we know who we should send.
The incorruptible man.
Right, God
truthful man.
And
hard-working man.
Yes.
Very good.
You know that one, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. One can only believe that the fish that says the eye of the crocodile is rotten.
One can only believe
the fish that says
the eye of the crocodile is rotten. Because the fish has been in the water.
The fish lives in the same water the crocodile lives in. Fish doesn't eat crocodile, but crocodile is known to eat fish.
Yeah.
Okay?
So when fish says this, you trust it's a witnesser.
No, believe fish, because fish has many encounters with
crocodile.
And fish relatives also have many encounters. Many of them are fatal encounters with crocodile. So fish knows. When he says the eye of the crocodile is XYZ, fish knows.
Okay. Let's look at the headlines. Did your guy do like that?
My guy did like that, my friend.
Good
and
man.
Then some. He did like that and then like
some,
that.
Eh?
Yes, my guy is okay.
Okay.
Let me look at the Standard.
Yes.
The top, there are these captions at the, call them headlines at the top of the newspaper, at the top, below the headline of the Standard. MPs at the heart of country's ballooning debt. This is a story on page 10. And the story talks about the number of times that Parliament has raised the debt ceiling, which now stands at 9.7 trillion. Okay? So the story goes on.
The ceiling is at 10 trillion.
Ceiling is at 10 trillion, chief. Hapo. As we like sailing close to the window. We are right there. We're not too far away. Okay? Then, IMF seeks openness on fuel subsidy. Stories on page 20. I didn't fully understand this story because I read it, but I didn't fully understand it. Maybe if I read it a third time, I'll understand it.
Probably, yeah.
Yes. Now, did you know that right now, that, bless you, there is a war going on, an internal conflict going on where bullets are being fired and people are dying in Sudan?
Man.
It's not a pretty picture.
Eish.
There is a paramilitary force called RSF, and they are fighting the army. Now, in this fight, 56 civilians have already died.
Yeesh.
Of these, there are 3 employees of the World Food Program. Imagine you are there trying to help provide food for people who need it, and then you get caught up in this crossfire.
Buana.
Right. But now this story here, this is for you specifically. Not even Jesus, because it's written Jesus, but I know it's pronounced Jesus, could rescue Arsenal. I just thought I would just mention that in passing.
Oh, man. It was a bad day. It's been a bad 2 weekends for Arsenal.
So this Jesus is who exactly?
He's a player.
The player. Good.
He's Brazilian.
Good.
Yeah, he's good.
Very good.
He's good.
Okay, fine. Messi good.
Yeah, no, not Messi good.
No, Messi is Yani standard. But good like that.
Good like that.
Not quite Messi, but good.
Good.
Okay, so all right.
Kiliumana. Hiya, the main headline.
Return of caning, teachers go rogue. Whereas corporal punishment is banned in schools, cases of learners being beaten to a point of seeking medical attention, they are rising. Could the tutors be taking matters into their own hands at the peril of learners? This is a mental health issue. This one, it's not a caning issue. It's not a discipline issue. It's a mental health issue. Yes. How do you beat a child to the point where the child has to be hospitalized? What on earth is that?
Yeah. Huh? Something's not right.
No, something is completely off here.
Yeah.
Something is completely off. This is a child, for heaven's sake. Right. Azimio to report Gachagua to ICC.
Teacher huyu.
Teacher? Samuel Gachagua? Oh, but what is his first name? Okay. DP Gachagua. He took my chair, but then he also pinched me. Yes, now I'm reporting so that he can be punished.
He can be punished.
And the other day he told me I don't belong to the government of the school.
His name is Joffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey. Okay.
Joffrey, Rigadi.
Okay, very good. There. Do you want me to look at the Star?
Yes.
Right, top right-hand corner in Till Green. 9 killed. I won't be cowed by ICC threats, IG Comey says after Azimio letter. Azimio seems to be writing letters to the ICC willy-nilly, left, right, and center. Yes, there's one, apparently, the people who were killed during the Mandamano, they've decided, IG of police, it is you who's to blame. Yes, because they were shot by police. And he has told them, him, IG, him, Kome, engineer, Kome. Forget about it. He is not going to be cowed by them. Yep. Okay, we will believe you. We'll take you at your word. Right? Bang in the middle. Hide and seek. Team allegedly being moved around in hotels. Okay? Venezuelan. Remember the Venezuelan? Back to clean server. Raila now claimed. See? Don't we live in a wonderful country?
Jose Camargo.
Jose is back. Jose.
And he's killing it from here.
No, Jose has come back. That thing requires sweeping at close range, meaning you and computer same place, you cleaning. But I thought this thing was not here. That was somewhere else. Or he came with it?
Well, the server is here.
The server is now here. Or is it Jose who is the server?
So he's here to clean the server.
Yes. Okay, now Raila claims. Okay.
Oh, that's why they don't want to open it.
They don't want to open it until he has cleaned it. When it is clean, then they can open it because it's now clean. Now you can see a clean server.
Unaweza kubali wageni hawezi ingia kwa nyumba.
Kamba haijasafishwa na ikawekwa sabuni na nina polish. Right. President Ruto asks Azimio leaders to give dialogue a chance. The story is on page 4 and 5. Okay. Now, devolution. Senators back bill to tame runaway pending bills in counties. Senators are set to clash with governors after the lawmakers ignored the county bosses and backed a bill that seeks to tame runaway pending bills in the counties. We seem to think that when we create laws, we are solving problems. That's what we seem to think.
Yeah.
A problem? Law. Another problem?
Law.
Okay. You wait. We're going to have so many laws, we won't even know where to begin. Right. Governance. CS to be grilled over plans to sell off paracetals. Treasury CS Njuguna Ndungu will face lawmakers over the controversial plan to sell state-owned firms without the involvement of parliament. Okay, so it's not selling, that's the problem. But without involving
Bunge.
Bunge need to be involved in these things, as though it makes a difference. Bunge needs to be involved in these things. Yes.
The people's representative.
The people's representative needs to have a say as to what is sold and what is not sold. All right.
I do the business daily?
Please do.
All right. Property auctions back as value of seized assets falls. Banks are turning to repeat auctions to speed up the sale of repossessed cars, houses and land at discounted prices as tight economic conditions knock off property valuations. The lenders, alarmed by the rising portion of loans for which principal and interest have not been paid for at least 90 days, are instructing auctioneers to re-advertise bids for repossessed assets. So they advertised, nobody came to buy. They're like, okay, sasa si punguza ya bei kidogo. Advertise again.
Now we're hoping that this time around people will come. Let's hope.
Yep. Higher. Stockbrokers fight for survival after the latest profits plunge. Stockbrokers paid the price for a depressed stock market and tough economic times last year after their earnings fell by a quarter on the back of lower trading commissions and advisory revenue. A Business Daily analysis of the industry financials shows that the stockbrokers collectively booked net profit of 500 million, down 24% from 658 million earned the previous year. So because of all this depressed activity, blah, 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 happening at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, you see, these guys make money from trading and the transactions. Now their profit has fallen by a quarter. Nairobi tops Africa in fees at elite schools. Nairobi has once again emerged as the most expensive city in Africa for elite schools, with fees reaching as high as 4.1 million shillings per year. 4.1 million shillings per year.
Yes.
Even too.
Yes.
As parents place a premium on their children's education. What? That is on page 7.
Well, don't joke.
4 point what? Mwaka moja mtoto moja 4 million. Mwaka ingine mtoto moja 4 million. Uko na watoto tatu. Unalipa 12 million kwa mwaka. Na mnasema hamna pesa. Si mtugawie.
Sisi pia tuende tulipe fees.
Yes, sisi tulipe fees. Na yetu ni kidogo tu bwana.
Kidogo sana.
Hii hata tunaweza patia Ministry of Education
10 children. Hiyo pesa they learn for 10 years.
Paka university.
Kila mtu na pocket money pia na pesa na nyumba ya kuishi pia. Plus chakula.
The minimum is 125,700 per year to a maximum of 4.1 million shillings. Bas. Higher.
Those are private schools, needless to say.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Of course. Do you have the nation?
I most certainly.
Let's look at traffic first, and then you tell us the nation headlines.
You know, this one is very interesting.
Let's look at the traffic first,
please,
and then you do the nation headlines. 24 minutes to 7, Kenya's biggest conversation. We're looking at what's in the press this morning. Once we take a look at the traffic, we will continue.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
London Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's
Sugar and Spice.
Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been with? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to Spice FM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
Only road to report about is a thicker superhighway. Traffic stretches to Garden City Mall and coming towards town, and then after the outer ring interchange, it eases off again to KCA University. It begins there, coming to Muthaiga, gets to Pangani interchange. After that, a little bit in Muranga Road and Tungara, but then it clears. Kiambu Road, it begins at NYS, coming all the way into the interchange with with Thika Superhighway, Muranga Road and Muthaiga Road, and then after that it clears. So that's the road that we're going to be watching this morning. It shows signs of being problematic. Jogoo Road is busy. Makadara heading towards Hamza, heading towards Church Army, and then after Church Army it clears into Makongeni, and then again it builds up at City Stadium roundabout. After that, nothing else to report. Manyanja Road is moving okay, but there's an issue, of course, at the bridge joining Jogoo Road.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Twenty-one minutes to 7. Okay, the nation.
The nation has many stories. There's a tragic story right at the headline. It's a tragic story of Mukumu girls' health woes. Now, one of the young ladies who passed away by the name of Wendy Abetio Yogi 14 was buried on the weekend. And it's reported the mother said, she wishes she had died for the daughter, but even if they know the cause of the death, it doesn't bring the child back.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the story is carried on page 10. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
How the seriously sick and neglected tragic story of Mukumu girls. The illnesses were known, but the administration seems to have done very little about it. Again, the story of the IG of police. Again, he will not be cowed. That's the story on page 8. And then bottom left, story of Jose Camargo is back. Jose Camargo is here, claims Raila. Okay? President Azimio leader Raila Odinga yesterday claimed that 4 Venezuelans, including the individual identified as Jose Camargo, were in the country to tamper with 22 election servers. Now, bang in the middle, this is a story that should cause alarm and should cause worry. It is a serious. Health insurers urging patients to go for cheaper generic medicines. Healthcare costs choking families.
Insurers are urging people to go for
cheaper generic medicines.
Okay.
Yeah. Problem here is the weak shilling. The drugs that we use, the vast majority
are imported.
And they are imported using dollar. Okay? So if you're looking at the price change of commonly prescribed drugs, a simple drug called Lacertan H for hypertension and kidney failure patients, the old price was 10 shillings a tablet. It has gone up by 500%. It's now 60 shillings a tablet. Tamoxifen, this is breast cancer, a tablet.
From 10 bob to 60 bob.
Yes, like that. Phew.
A tablet.
A tablet, one.
And these ones are taken like a daily, right?
Yes, my friend.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Okay? Meaning, if you do the maths, previously, what you'd spend annually on this drug was 3,650. Now it's 21,900. So, okay? The old price for tamoxifen was 450 shillings a packet. Now it's 1,550 a packet. It's gone up by 244%.
What?
Gaviscon, this is patients with heartburn and indigestion. It used to cost 317 a bottle. Now it costs 550 a bottle. It's up by 73%. Traclomulus, these are kidney transplant patients. It used to cost 28 shillings a tablet. Now it costs 62, 121%. Insulin for diabetes, it used to cost 500 shillings. Now it costs 800 shillings, up by 60%. And the list goes on. So, when you talk about the shilling versus the dollar, and all we are focusing on is how the dollar is scarce, there's this little matter of life-saving interventions like drugs that are bought using the dollar.
Yeah.
And once the shilling is weakened, the drug will cost more. It's very basic arithmetic. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
Healthcare costs choking families.
Yeah, you can imagine. I mean, drugs going up by 400, 500%.
Yes.
That is.
No, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the story is on page 7 of the Nation.
So now the issue though is when health insurers are urging people to go for the cheaper ones, how much cheaper are the cheaper ones?
You know, me, it's not even the cost that worries me. The fact that something referred to as generic and you're told it is cheaper, what is the guarantee that it will do what it's supposed to do? What guarantee is it that the composition of that drug is the same as the one which is not generic? What's the guarantee?
Hey. Okay. Back page of the Nation.
Back page of the Nation. We have medics to boycott work over salary delay.
From when?
Union says members will not go to work due to non-payment of their salaries. Healthcare services in 12 counties. Sorry, let me start again. Healthcare services in 12 county public hospitals are set to be paralyzed from Wednesday. Tuesday tomorrow. After medical workers announce a boycott demanding their March salaries. Okay. Medical workers in Kisumu, Mombasa, Taita Taveta, Vihiga, Embu, Nyandarua, Bomet, Laikipia, Nyeri, Muranga, Kisii, Nyamira. All those places, they're saying, Now, the Medical Workers Union say, we wish to emphasize that this is not a strike notice, but rather a demonstration of the inability of our members to attend work due to lack of resources. This is a story we've heard before. And they were claiming, they saying, look, we are willing to work, but do you know just the pain and the stress you have when you have patients and you can't attend to their basic needs because you do not have the commodities? They're not there. And all we're saying is provide the commodities so that we can do our work. Now, so long as there are no commodities, what are we going to do?
Shida.
Look at our patients, talk to them. Wish them well.
Shida. Okay. So there's a story that's inside the Standard, page 5.
Mm-hmm.
This is about Pastor Paul Mackenzie Ndenge. Pastor Paul Mackenzie Ndenge.
That gentleman in Kilifi?
Of Kilifi.
Yes.
Remember there was a story about Magarini where some two children had reportedly died.
Yes.
And the man had been arrested. The man had gone and said, I stopped being a preacher a long time ago. Don't blame me. But the people are saying that Pastor Mackenzie and his church have been urging people to go on a hunger strike, to fast to their deaths, because there's something major that's going to come and kill them. So it's easier if you die under your own terms.
And some parents locked their children, and the children died.
And the children died.
Yes.
Now the gentleman is in the news again because over the weekend, on Thursday, police rescued some 15 people in some forest who were starving themselves. They had gone to a forest, they are not eating. They are on starvation. 15 of them were rescued. 4 died of starvation. Okay? Now, 11 followers of the controversial Malindi pastor will face charges of attempted suicide today. The faithful were rescued after a police raid in Shakahola village. They were treated for starvation before being arrested moments after being discharged from the Malindi Sub-County Hospital. Malindi Sub-County Police Commander John Kemboi said yesterday the followers will be arraigned before the magistrates court in Malindi. 11 of them were arrested yesterday after they were discharged. They attempted suicide by starving themselves, so they are answerable to the law and they will not be exempted. Collins Kabaye from Busia, one of the followers being held at Malindi police station, said he does not regret following Pastor Mackenzie's sermons and he is ready to face the charges. Even John the Baptist was arrested for practicing his faith, but he endured it all. I am ready to face it all in the name of Jesus, he said. He insisted that he would never betray Pastor Mackenzie because it would be turning away from God. Nothing can discourage me, he said. I'll remain a follower of Pastor Ndenge Mackenzie until death, and I'll be rewarded in heaven. Sasa wewe niambie.
What I'd like to ask is, this fasting and that the pastor prescribed, does he also practice it?
Yeah, but you know him now. He has to eat kidogo because he has to help those ones who will survive.
Because I would have assumed that the best thing to do is to lead by example. If you believe that this is the way to go about doing all manner of things, then you should also lead. You should have been in the forest with these people.
Yep.
There's a quotation here. It is being said, attributed to the governor of Kilifi, one Gideon Mungaro. Said, if it were me, I would lock him up for 2 weeks without food and water and see if he would survive.
Starve him.
Well, I mean, he should practice what he preaches.
You know, the thing is, it wouldn't matter. He'll die. He is not saying, let's starve and then we will live. No, he is saying, let us starve so that we die before the big whatever
all these
plague
things,
comes.
This man,
there's a plague that's coming that's going to kill people and it will be more painful. Okay. So it's better.
This man should be taken to Portrees. There's a mental health facility there. In all sincerity, yes. There are experts who will determine the delusions this gentleman is suffering from, and they'll be able to prescribe something that could assist him.
But how good is he at persuasion?
No.
Did you see what Collins Kabaye, somebody from Busia, says, I have come here, I am following this man, I will die.
Yes.
It's a serious power of persuasion.
He does have the power of persuasion, but as I said, persuading somebody who is poor and who has nothing with the promises of heaven, all you need to do is paint a really lovely picture of heaven and where they will go. Death then seems to be inconsequential. Suffering seems to be inconsequential because, remember, heaven is the promise. This death is not the end. This death is the beginning.
Is the entry.
Is the entry, yes. So how then, and when you're suffering and every day you're having a problem and someone tells you this is the way out of your suffering and into a better place, believe me, what it tells me, what I read from this, is that the level of suffering many citizens of this country are in are things we cannot even begin to imagine. Because by the time you find that it is a lot easier to accept this particular narrative, then it means the life you are living is unbearable. Now, someone will say, oh, there are people who are living okay lives. How do you know their lives are okay? For you to have that mindset where this message appeals to you, where do you think you are mentally? Or where do you think you are physically and spiritually? Where are you for this thing to make sense to you? People love life. By the time you've gotten to a point where you don't really care about your life, what is that? People struggle to stay alive. People struggle to do all sorts of things just so that you can live and see tomorrow. Now, these guys are doing the complete opposite. How on earth do you convince one that these people are in the right state of mind? And the person who's preaching it, as I said, portrays hospital, direct. No. Let people who understand these things look at this man and determine what it is.
But I think it goes beyond that. Yes, there's definitely a link between people's current state of affairs and how gullible they become. But then if you just leave this particular pastor and what he's telling these people of Magarini and others to come and do in Kilifi, if you think about it, many other stories that we've read, somebody who is, living well and they're okay, they earn big money, then they completely change. Remember there was a lawyer who did this to his family. Killed his entire family.
I remember very well.
Right?
Wife, children.
It wasn't because of poverty, it was because of something else.
That's why I raised the question, what state of mind do you think this person is in? Remember, it is not, in my mind, a religious issue. This is a mental health issue. What is it that gets someone or any individual to the point where they can do or believe such things? One, poverty does it best. But there are other people who may not be poor. But their mental state is such that such a message would appeal to them tremendously.
Do people question faith?
Many people don't. Because they believe that faith is, if the moment you question faith, then you do not have faith.
Then you don't have faith.
Yes. They believe that faith is something that once you aspire to or aspire towards, then it's unquestionable. And that is why people who propagate it are also not questioned. You hear the man of God has said, say, yeah, he's just a guy, you know what I mean? He's just a person. So, he's a man of God. Yeah, we've got that, but he's a person.
He's not different from us.
No, he's not different from us at all.
No, he's different. He's different. A man of God.
It's okay. Man of God. That's why you'll find some people who preach some really genuinely crazy messages. And they're followers.
Yes.
And they feel this is our person. And you're thinking, what on earth is happening here? And some of them even in God's name. So you have to ask, okay, this God, it can't be the same God that I believe in. It must be another God. Yes.
But people follow.
Remember Magarini, at the time we were in Kilifi, remember this is a place at the time where they had not had rainfall in 3 years.
Yep.
So and these are subsistence farmers. So just think and pause for a second and ask yourself, what level of poverty do you think people are facing in this place?
Yeah. Another story?
Another story. I want to look at IMF subsidies. You know this story? As I said, I read it, still didn't make sense. I'm hoping that this time when I look at it, it'll make a little more sense. These are the captions that have been written as quotations that relate to what the IMF and the people who are in the IMF have said. Okay? There's a gentleman here called Abebe Aemro Selassie. He is supposed to be the IMF African Department Director. Africa is a department according to IMF Director. Okay? This is what he said. With Kenya, I think that what we are asking is that whatever the subsidies the government wants to pursue, that it puts on budget and made transparent.
Obviously. What's IMF asking? I mean, that's an obvious thing. What are they saying?
Have I not just read?
That whatever subsidy the government wants to bring, it should put on budget and made transparent.
Selassie reiterated in an interview with journalists that the retention of the subsidies by Kenya is regressive use of government spending. Okay? Let me just read again another quotation. Regressive here means that the benefits of such subsidies tend to accrue to richer segments of the society, a lot more than poorer segments of society. In a world where we still have elevated levels of poverty, elevated levels of development challenges, I'm not sure this is the best use of the resources, he said, regarding a question of the subsidies. And then we leave it up to the government whether to sustain those policies or remove them. But I'm understanding this thing less and less and less.
Bottom line, IMF is not comfortable with subsidies.
IMF is not comfortable with subsidies, but they're now trying to tell us that these subsidies are only favoring the rich.
Yeah.
And they're saying subsidies ought to favor the poor.
The poor.
So let me interpret it.
Okay.
IMF is saying that unga should be 100 bob.
Should be bottom up, this subsidy.
Yes. Bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
If you have a bottom up subsidy, sour.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But
so basically, okay, if you look at it, well, pound for pound. So look at the scandal that was in the nation last week about the fertilizer subsidy. So 15 billion shillings or thereabouts has been spent on the fertilizer subsidy. Basically, there are only a few suppliers of these fertilizers, If you look at it like from that angle, those are the ones who are making the money. But then you also forget that the fertilizer is getting to the farmer. If indeed it is, assuming that
let's take the view that it's getting to the farmer.
That it gets to the farmer. See, the farmer is the bottom up guy.
That's the bottom,
and he's benefiting from cheaper fertilizer.
So
what's the issue? It's going for the rich.
Whenever IMF come into the picture or World Bank come into the picture, they have a way in which they believe third world poor countries like ours should run their business. The history of their intervention, or should I call it interference, usually leaves us in a far worse state than before they came to us. Now, and then they wonder why it is we went to China to get money. Okay?
Yeah.
Because they will come to you with all manner of restrictions. Essentially, you're being treated like a child who can't think clearly. Okay? And so they are thinking on your behalf. Don't do this, don't do the other. Don't do this, don't do the other.
It's not good for you.
Even this thing about selling paracetals, I am certain that they're behind it. When they came in with the structural adjustment programs during the Moi government, it is them who came up with this idea of the government selling its assets, selling houses, selling this. It is them who came up with these ideas. They always come up with some of these really genuinely crazy ideas about how things should happen. But then those are the terms that they expect you to abide by if they're going to give you money. Any smart government would try and do everything within their means never to be in cahoots with these fellows.
Avoid them as much as possible.
Avoid them as much as you possibly can. In the name of helping you, what they're actually doing is dismantling whatever you have. They don't actually help you. Not really. They say they do, but they don't.
Yeah. Let's conclude with this editorial by the Standard today.
Yes.
Slow diagnosis of whatever is happening in Mukumu raises major questions. The CS for Education, Ezekiel Machogu, has made changes to the management of Sacred Heart's Mukumu Girls that take effect today. This school has been in the news over the admission of children, 200 girls, of an outbreak, a disease outbreak. And basically what the Standard here is saying is that the length of time it took for us to actually know what this is. Remember now the acting director of health released a statement saying what they are seeing is this was Salmonella and E. coli. But it took so long to actually get to this proper diagnosis. And then it taken so long for action to be taken to take these children to hospital and to recognize what's happening. Basically, this is raising very major questions about the management of schools. Yep, we shall have more and more of these discussions in coming days. Keep it here, 8-7 a.m.
Loving you is sweeter.
morning, this is News with Dennis Osset. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the warring parties in Sudan. President William Ruto asked IGAD leaders to take a firm position on the crisis to restore peace in the country. The president spoke during a virtual meeting with IGAD heads of states on the worsening security in Sudan.
Because of where we are and the real danger that Sudan faces today with the sporadic fighting, and therefore I have 3 suggestions to make. That number 1, as IGAD and as heads of state, that we ask for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the combatants. Number 2 is to move with speed and conclude on this one matter, on the matter that is causing this whole problem. We provide a mechanism as IGAD, together with our partners, on how this single matter of integration of RSF is resolved. The timeline is resolved. We should not allow this single matter to torpedo the whole agreement and the efforts of many to go down the drain.
This as the government says it is working on evacuating Kenyans to safety if the situation in Sudan worsens. According to Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua, at least 3,000 Kenyans are stuck in Sudan amid the ongoing turmoil in the country. CS Mutua encouraged Kenyans to always register with Kenyan embassies abroad whenever they travel abroad for ease of coordination in case of emergency situations.
We have a big problem in Sudan. Bombing is escalating. We have about 3,000 Kenyans stuck in Sudan and they are scared. They're in their homes. Nobody's leaving the house. And Your Excellency, I want to assure you and to assure Kenyans that we are aligned. We've talked to Kenya Airways. They are ready. If things get out of hand, to bring Kenyans back here. We are asking Kenyans, wherever you are, whenever you go overseas, please register with the embassy, because you don't know what will happen. The Kenyans who have registered with the embassy, we're in touch with them. The ones who did not register, we have a problem finding them. But we are going to give a number so that kama uko na mtu huko utaweza apige simu so that we know the state of the Kenyans.
And Azimio la Umoja coalition leader Raila Odinga said that they are ready to hold talks with the government, but the process has not been harmonious as expected. According to Raila, the opposition has been willing to hold deliberation meetings with government, but they have been approached with contempt, crippling attempts to air their grievances.
Wakasema wanataka mazungumzo ndani ya bunge. Kasema hapana ndani ya bunge. Wabunge mmepiga mnada. Mnanoa bunge kama mbuzi kwa mnada. Tukasema mazungumzo itafanyika nje ya bunge. Itakuwa wakilishi ni wa bunge lakini nje ya bunge. Kama ile bwana Kofi Annan. Na kama wameshakuelewana, hiyo itapelekwa ndani ya bunge kupitishwa. Sawa sawa? Hiyo ni sharti, haturudi nyuma.
This is President William Ruto urged leaders to stay clear from putting the lives and businesses of Kenyans at risk and seek other channels to achieve their objectives. The head of state urging the leaders to take advantage of the bipartisan talks scheduled to take place in Parliament and allow him to deliver upon his mandate to Kenyans. He added that political dialogue cannot be achieved through demonstrations, but through sensible talks.
Walete kamati yao, sisi tumetengeneza kamati yetu, waketi chini, waongee, ile watakubaliana tupeleke Kenya mbele, lakini waniwachie nafasi nipange mambo ya maendeleo ya taifa letu la Kenya na wananchi wa taifa letu la Kenya.
Meanwhile, Kenya Party leader Martha Karua has warned police officers against following illegal orders during protest. Speaking at Azimio la Umoja Coalition's public baraza at Kamkunji grounds, Karua told police they should not accept to be used to punish Kenyans.
Askari wetu polisi, nyinyi ni ndugu zetu, nyinyi ni danda zetu. Wacha kutumika vibaya na kuumiza Mkenya mwenzako. Stop obeying illegal orders. Waliambiwa wanaazimio wakienda maandamano ya amani watuue na live bullet.
And world record holder Eliud Kipchoge headlines star-studded Boston Marathon field today as the world's oldest 42.195 kilometers race takes on a somber tone 10 years after bombing attack near the finish line. Survivors, first responders and other members of the public gathered in Boston in honor of the victims of the marathon bombing, one of the most high-profile attacks on U.S. soil that claimed 3 lives and saw more injured. A shattered community came together in the wake of the attack, adopting the slogan Boston Strong in a show of unity and resilience, and we say, keep Kipchoge strong. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Thika Road, yeah, it's done the thing. It begins at the Garden City Mall coming towards town, and then Kiambu Road begins at DCI headquarters. They merge at Muthaiga, and then issues. But after that, at Pangani, it clears up. Muranga Road is good. Wangari Maathai Road is good. How is Limuru Road this morning? Limuru Road is fine. Jogoo Road is busy at the usual spots. This is Makadara, and then at Jogoo Road, at City Stadium Roundabout, and at Likoni Road junction there at Church Army. After that, it moves. How is Kangunda Road? It's very, very busy at around Umoja 1 as you get into Outer Ring Road coming towards the CBD, and also on the same Kangunda Road getting out. Basically, that area around Umoja 1. Nikubaya. Outer Ring Road is busy. North Airport Road is also busy as you approach City Cabanas. Very, very busy. And then goes into Changombe. And then as you turn back now to get into Uhuru Highway, now into Mombasa Road, it clears. Uhuru Highway itself is all right. If there's anything that we can talk about, please let us know. We'll alert everybody else. Tag us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. We're live on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and Facebook on the 17th day of April 2023. Do you have some money that you'd like to earn from? Are you an individual, a business, or an organization looking to save or invest funds for great returns? Then I have a message for you from Kingdom Bank, which is offering the best interest earning accounts for your investment. Earn up to 10% of interest from as little as 50,000 shillings in fixed or call deposits for periods of 3, 6, or 12 months. Visit any of the branches of Kingdom Bank today or call them on 0709 88 1300. That's 0709 88 1300 for more information on the fixed savings and junior savings accounts. Songa mbele na Kingdom Bank. Terms and conditions will apply on this. Just as little as 50,000 bob, 10% interest. 3, 6, and 12 months. Moving on to the conversation now. We were talking about this earlier. Kenya and USA are due to open another round of talks as we gear towards signing a new trade pact between Kenya and America. And this is what we want to talk about. The pros and cons of the proposed Kenya-US trade pact. We are joined now by Edgar Odari, who is the Executive Director of Econews Africa. Edgar has been here before. Good morning, Edgar.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room again.
Asante.
Kenya's biggest conversation. Now, of course, the last time you were here, we were talking about the Kenya-UK pact.
Yes.
We've also looked at, how all these pacts are affecting us.
Yes.
Our trade with our friends and neighbors in the East African community.
Yes.
So today we'll talk about this one that was there in the Trump.
We also talked about DRC at some point, you remember?
Yes, we talked about this
Congo
as well.
Joining the East African community.
Yes.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
CT has the day's proverb.
Yes, this week, from Monday to Friday, we will be looking at proverbs from the country of Burkina Faso. Okay? Formerly known as the Upper Volta. One can only believe the fish that says the eye of the crocodile is rotten.
One can only believe the fish that says the eye of the crocodile is rotten. Edgar, what do you make of this proverb? What are they saying?
This one is a bit confusing. Has the fish seen the eye? I think I have my own proverb. That's the best I can do. This one is very confusing. Maybe Muga can explain it to us.
No,
it is better to drink water in the fields than wine in a toilet.
Better to drink water where again?
It is better to drink water in the fields
than wine
in a toilet.
Okay. And so I take the view that if it is water you are drinking in the toilet, the situation will be the same.
Yes, it will be the same. But you are better off drinking just water in the fields. Even if someone gives you wine, but you are drinking it in a toilet. I mean, you're supposed to enjoy wine, not suffer through it.
And the toilet is not a place you enjoy.
No, it's not.
Really?
You'd go do your business and come out. Unless you have a different opinion.
You're taking the view that every time someone goes to the toilet, they're suffering.
Who says?
Who says?
Well, it depends. It depends.
Who says it has to be a dirty place?
Look. I mean, when men go to the rhino, okay, they even stand in a row. And they all seem to be gazing at the wall in front of them or the sky. Do they look like they're suffering?
Well,
okay.
They don't want to talk. Okay. So, new bilateral trade agreement between Kenya and the United States. This is basically the conversation that's going to be taking place this week.
Yes.
It's a big one.
Yes.
Give us the background of this and what's happening this week.
So, the United States, way back, I think 2 years ago, started off, they wanted to negotiate under Trump a complete free trade agreement with Kenya. Then they started off those discussions, but, whatever happened, and Trump was not elected. And the new U.S. Trade Representative, Catherine Tai, sat down and decided to narrow the scope of the agreement from a full-length free trade agreement to what they're calling the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. So it's a more narrowed-down conversation, and they're not doing what we call market access. We're not providing market access to Americans to be able to access the market. So that's how it is.
So that's the difference.
There's a difference. A free trade agreement with the US would have been a much bigger scope. Like a complete, all the chapters that they usually negotiate would have gone there. But this is a more narrower scope.
Yes.
I'm a little hamstrung. When you say narrow.
Yes.
Why don't you walk us through what a full free trade area agreement would involve?
So
that one understands what it is.
A full FTA has a number of chapters. So one of the major chapters is it has investment. So, for example, this agreement that they're discussing with Kenya does not have investment as one of the chapters. They're discussing, I think, agriculture, digital trade, labor, women and youth. Yes, about 11 chapters. Yes.
So, of what use then is that agreement if there's no investment and all these components are mentioned? So, how do they benefit from this so-called free trade?
Muga, let me tell you, the full American invasion in terms of a trade agreement, it's a monstrosity. So, you're better off, even China, when they're discussing and having this discussions with China, they actually decided to narrow down. And you say, in the first round, you're going to negotiate up to this point. Because it's a whole range of negotiations. And you have a number of things that are discussed there. So if you try to chew everything at once, you won't finish. It's very huge. Yes.
So what's happening this week?
So this week, they had a round in Washington. Now, the Assistant United States Trade Representative, Connie Hamilton, is in Nairobi this week leading her team to negotiate another round of negotiations with Kenya. So for the whole of this week, they'll be discussing, I think they've been setting the scene for a while. Now, I think the US has come up with its texts. They've developed what we're calling negotiation texts. They now want to share with Kenya and say, this is the way we should be discussing. And we have a bit
they are the ones who are deciding the texts for us to trade with them.
They've developed texts. I am not sure. I've not seen any effort.
Do we have
from the
ours?
Kenyan. We don't.
Why?
Well, that's the question we should be asking ourselves. Why should we use a template that has been developed by the United States to discuss trade? You know, you're negotiating, and they've already made the first move by giving texts.
I don't see a problem with them coming with their texts.
We should develop ours also.
There has to be a counter.
Yes.
You see, they want to trade. This is what they would like. It's like a proposal.
Yes, it's like a proposal.
So should we have ours as well?
We should.
Yes.
You know, this whole conversation sounds like it's a Russia thing. So we first had a round where we went to their place. Now they are coming to our place. So what happened when we went to their place? What did we talk about? And what are we supposed to do now when they come to our place? What's the difference?
It was like deciding the scope of what they're going to decide, what they're going to be discussing. So they look at the scope and say, okay, we have a full FTA we were discussing, but from the full FTA we want to narrow down and say we want to discuss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 11 topics.
Okay. So the two teams, the Kenyan team and the American team, agreed now on the 11 topics.
Yes.
That's what happened in the US, in the Washington conversations.
Yes.
So now what's expected to happen in the Nairobi conversation?
What is expected to happen is, according to, I was speaking to the deputy chief negotiator, and she was saying they're still setting the scene. So it's not very clear, but I think they've now come with their texts. I'm assuming they've come with their texts, and they'll share the texts, then they decide how to move on from that point.
Okay.
Yes.
Who are the people negotiating for us? Not necessarily the individuals, but what do they represent? Which ministry? Is there private sector involved?
No, private sector is not involved. And that's the irony. Let me tell you, for example, in the digital trade chapter, 12 of the 15 negotiators from the US are industry representatives.
Makes perfect sense.
You know, Google, Amazon, and the likes, lobbyists. They're the ones negotiating, and you know it's a very risky thing because.
But they're the businessmen.
No. Can you imagine? We've said, when I started speaking about this, I said Kenya is negotiating with the US government. But I've told you, 12 of those negotiators are actually private sector.
Yes.
Characters.
Yes.
So we are, and you know, there's not going to be oversight by the Congress this time, because what we are calling the Trade Promotion Authority has expired in the US, where Congress is supposed to oversight the negotiation of trade agreements. So this time we are negotiating with the private sector directly.
Okay, and we are negotiating trade deals in which the private sector will play a key role, and the private sector is not represented when we're negotiating.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So what's a complement of our representation?
There's the PS. He's the chief negotiator.
The PS, what? Foreign affairs or trade?
PS trade.
Okay.
There's a state law office. That's the deputy chief negotiator. Some nice lady, Pauline Charo. There's so that's the. Then you have sectoral leads, based on those chapters. You have sectoral leads, so there's someone who's leading the digital trade chapter. There's someone leading agricultural sector and all that. So cascading that into all the chapters. Yes.
And these people have a wealth of experience in negotiating such deals.
Yes.
The fellows from Kenya. So the next question I'm going to ask you, what have they negotiated in the past?
They have negotiated the European Union Economic Partnership Agreement with the East African Community. And, you know, I used to work under, I don't know if you know Miss Odoro Ngwen. Odoro Ngwen is the executive director for ODM. That was my boss when I used to work at the Southern and Eastern African Trade Institute. And because he was busy advising the Honorable Raila Odinga, he gave me a first row seat in terms of those negotiations. And, you know, you get to see the reality of how these negotiations are actually carried out. And it's very interesting, by the way, because, you know, you come to realize this idea of getting access to those texts and negotiating in good time, it gives you a chance to respond. You're almost responding. It's like you're responding in real time in these negotiations. Otherwise, if we don't have that kind of mechanism, so like now, the way the Kenyan stakeholders have been locked out of those negotiations, then the Americans are saying, no, the texts can only be handled by government. That's a problem.
Yeah, but they are saying the text can only be, whatever it is, can only be handled by the government. And yet, they themselves have had private sector within the negotiations.
Yes.
And the private sector contribution is what has formed that text. Is that not so?
Yes.
And what about ours? Did we have private sector involved at our own level, at any level, at whatever level?
I think I have spoken to KEPSA, Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and my sense, I might be wrong, they don't seem to have a foothold into this conversation as much as they would.
Then we have a problem.
As much as they'd like to.
That's my take of it, based on my conversations with them. They're not here to talk about it themselves, so that's my take on it. Yes.
You know, the thing that worries me, though, here we are building an East African community. Here we are building an Africa free trade area.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Would we not be in a far better position negotiating with the US if we negotiated either as the East African community or as the Africa free trade?
Leverage, you now have it. You've gotten it, Smuga. You know, let me tell you, the economy of California is 300 times bigger than Kenya. California alone.
Yes.
California, the economy of California's GDP is much bigger than Africa combined. Now, we are not even negotiating with California, we are negotiating with the US itself, the whole of the US. You know, when you trade, when I told you I used to work at Siatini. So at Siatini, there's a professor, it's called Yash Sandon. He's written a book, it's called Trade is War. You know, the way trade is negotiated is like you're fighting a war. And if you look at the way he argues, he says, when you're having these negotiations, it's like you're pitting, you can't pit a superpower against a developing or country. You know, you can't. It's like a boxing match. You put heavyweights with heavyweights, but you don't get a featherweight and pit them against a heavyweight. You see Vita Bwana.
Okay.
That's a massacre.
So why did we begin this conversation? Why did we have a need to have a new trade negotiation in America?
So Kenya has been trading under what we call the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act.
Yeah.
It was done in 2000 by Bill Clinton. And that agreement, it's an act actually, it's not even an agreement. It's an act of the US Congress. It was passed that year. It is expiring in 2025. We've been trading under that regime for a long time.
What does it give us access to?
It gives us access to about 6,500 tariff lines. Tariff lines are basically products you can export to the US. But what has happened during this situation is we've only been able to exploit about 11% of those tariff lines since we started exporting.
As a country?
Yes. So the question I'm asking, if on a free level...
Before we go there.
Yes.
So AGOA was enacted in 2020.
No, 2000.
In 2000,
Yes.
rather. Yeah, with the 25-year timeline.
It was extended. Actually, it was supposed to expire before, but it was extended to 2025.
It was extended again to 2025.
Yes.
Was it only with Kenya? Was it only benefiting Kenya?
No,
Was
about
it benefiting
40 African countries.
Okay.
Yes.
But there was no negotiation.
There was no negotiation. It was a unilateral thing by the US.
It was just America looking at saying how we can support these small guys.
Yes.
And they came up with it.
Yes.
So ahead of the expiry of this AGOA in 2025 is why now the need to maintain access to the American market.
But the other African countries also need access to the American market.
They can do that.
Yes.
But it's where Kenya saw a need to run ahead and maintain this.
It's madness.
Was it Kenya that initiated this talk, or was it Kenya and America that initiated it?
Let me tell you the funny story, Chief.
Okay.
Kenya at some point even paid lobbyists to convince the US government to negotiate with it.
Okay.
Honestly.
So Kenya took the front row seat. Kenya basically took this thing, and so 2025 is coming. We don't have a new deal coming up. Can we at least secure ourselves a market in America?
But why can't they secure as a region?
No. Is that true?
It's true.
That's what happened.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Has any other African country, any other of the 11 or so African countries that were benefiting from 40 or so African countries, has any of them initiated talks with America?
They are pushing for the extension of AGOA, those countries.
Again, for another extension.
For another extension. Or at least if it doesn't happen to be an extension, to negotiate as a bloc. You know, we now have the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Okay.
I'm assuming that is too big to negotiate because you have too many interests aligning. We can negotiate as the East African community. And let me tell you.
Have other countries in East Africa come up and said, can we What I'm asking is,
Yes.
Kenya initiated conversations.
Yes.
And said, let's go ahead and start negotiating with America.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
I'm just giving benefit of the doubt here and thinking Kenya maybe didn't just wake up and think, let's run ahead of the others. It's because of looking at the neighbors and seeing what the neighbors are sleeping on the job. Has any other East African country approached Kenya or gone to the East African Community Summit and said, let's open a negotiation?
They haven't.
Has any other East African country gone to America and said, let's have conversations with you ahead of 2025?
Not to my knowledge.
So then Kenya is basically...
But now, instead of, let's say you need to look at a continuity mechanism to continue with AGOA.
Yeah.
Why not approach your colleagues first, your compatriots? Why not approach the other countries and tell them, guys, we need to negotiate beyond 2025. So why can't we come together? You see, you don't run to Americans first. You run to your neighbors and tell them, guys, let's negotiate. Kenya has not done that. So if they had made that effort and then Uganda and Tanzania and Congo refused, then you can tell me, by the way, we have tried.
Since Kenya started,
yes,
has any of the other countries come up to say, hey, no, we'd like to join this conversation?
There are mamas, there are countries that are saying Kenya is doing the wrong thing.
Okay, has any of them said, how about Kenya? We join this conversation?
None, because they're looking at extension of AGOA. They don't want to negotiate. You see, let me tell you, the US is a giant. This is a David versus Goliath situation. So you don't wake up and tell a giant, oh, by the way, let's sit and negotiate how we are going to have this. No, you don't do that. You tell them, can you extend the grace period you gave me for us to continue? You do that. That's what you do. I think it's a mistake.
But how many times do you want to push for an extension?
As long as they can accept it. Look, this is not a fair... It's like I told you, it's like a heavyweight versus a bantamweight.
Okay.
And you're pitting them together. So if you can get an extension before you start fighting, like I told you, trade is war. You extend that fight until you're able to grow. Meanwhile, you're eating your meals 3 times a day to make sure that you umeshiba vizuri to be able to sustain the fight.
Other 40 countries have approached America, Kichini 1-1, and said, please extend AGOA.
Yes.
What has America's response been?
America has said they're not going to extend. The conversation is, if you talk to government, they say, no, we're not going to extend AGOA. But if you talk to Congress, there's a willingness in the US Congress to extend AGOA beyond 2025. Some of those legislators are willing.
So the executive are the ones who are not willing, but their parliament is willing.
Yes. And parliament is the one that does AGOA.
Parliament is the one which does everything in that country.
Yes.
They're the ones who even allocate funds. As I said, they're the ones who do everything.
Yes.
Yes. You know, the thing that I don't understand is how it is that a big country like America would find it useful to deal with this banana republic called Kenya and give it so much importance. I don't understand. What is it that we have that makes it so important for them to want to have this?
Can I speculate?
Yeah.
The Minister of Mining last week announced the discovery of, I think, 290 minerals.
They announced last week the discovery. Did they tell us when they discovered these minerals?
They've been doing, there was an aerial survey, geomagnetic survey, something. There was a survey that was done.
Yeah. When?
We've discovered minerals, so many minerals in about 15 counties. So my guess, if I was to guess, I would say they've discovered minerals. That's why the American Chamber of Commerce is busy making noise all over, saying, oh, we want to invest in Kenya and all that. They've seen minerals. That's what I would guess. Because they're doing the same thing in Congo. Let me tell you the funny thing. The US, let me just say this, and I know I'm right. I don't stand to be... The US is
you don't stand to be corrected.
Yes. I don't stand to be corrected. The US is the most selfish country on earth.
Explain what you mean.
In the US, so you know about Adam Smith. You said Adam Smith developed the
economics
book about wealth of nations.
Yeah,
so Adam Smith talks about in his theory, he talks about if you want a country to grow well, you must appeal to the selfish interests of each person. If each country appeals to its own selfish interests, you'll be able to grow. That is a problem. Now, the Americans have refined this further into game theory. Game theory is basically pure maths. Wanafanya mathematic. What they do something called, let me find the name for it, zero-sum game. Zero-sum game theory. So zero-sum game, Muga, means for me to gain, you have to lose. The only way I'm able to gain something is for you to lose. That's the game Americans play. But now there's someone else. I don't know if you know the works of John Nash. He is a Nobel Prize economist. He did some wonderful work on mathematics.
For a moment there, I thought he was a musician. Yes.
No, John Nash. There's a movie done about it. Have you watched the movie A Beautiful Mind? Yes, that's the guy. So John Nash says, John Nash now contradicted Adam Smith and said Adam Smith was wrong. He said, you have to look at the selfish interest and the common good. Let me explain something. He gave an example. It's a very crude example, but it's the example he gave. It's done in the movie. So you have 3 guys in a bar. They want to get laid. You get. Then 4 girls appear into the bar. 4 girls walk into the bar. Now, out of those 4 girls...
How crude is this joke gonna get?
No, it's not very crude.
Okay.
Yes. So 4 girls appear in the bar. Now, out of those 4 girls, one is very beautiful. Now, if you interpret this according to Adam Smith, each one of them will say, I want the most beautiful girl. So that will mean one of them will get laid and 2 of them will not get laid. But if you interpret it according to John Nash, it means they'll now say, okay, let's not go for the most beautiful girl. Let's go for the 3 other girls. And all of them will get laid. That's John Nash.
Let's take a break on that note. 28 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the situation room. Edgar Odari is the executive director of Eco News Africa. We're talking about the pros and cons of the proposed Kenya-America trade pact. It's called the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. Have you watched Second Family on Showmax? If you haven't, please do. News episodes coming up on 3 times every week. It's Kenya's first telenovela on Showmax. It's called The Second Family. It stars people like Ian Bogwa. It stars people like Nick Ndeda. It's about the Gatehi and the Langat families. It's an interesting story, and you should watch it on Showmax. If you haven't subscribed, showmax.com, select your package, select the one that works for you, and get watching, binge watching Kenya's first telenovela.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Three, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu. Kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys and walikuwa na uza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, it's a sunny day today in Nairobi. Current temperatures 15, Mombasa sunny at 26, mostly sunny in Malindi at 26, sunny in Kisumu at 20, Nyeri sunny at 16, Nakuru sunny at 15, Kakamega sunny at 15 and Eldoret sunny at 12. Kampala mostly cloudy at 20. Johannesburg cloudy at 8. Dar es Salaam sunny at 25. Kinshasa cloudy at 24. Lagos cloudy at 27. Beijing cloudy at 17. London light rain at 10. Mostly cloudy in New York at 13. Mostly mostly cloudy in Paris at 4. Okay, Kenya National Highways Authority, please look into this issue. Everybody who is using North Airport Road and they'd like to get to town and they don't want to use the expressway has to cross at City Cabanas and go and do some funny U-turn up there in Changombe. Now that is causing an entire buildup of traffic that stretches all the way to beyond Outer Ring Road intersection and also affects the Outer Ring Road itself. Enterprise Road at General Motors is starting to get busy on both sides as you're getting out. And then we're also looking at the Southern Bypass. It's clear, but Lunga Lunga Road is getting busy. Let's talk about Thika Superhighway. That is usually a point of conversation every morning. It has stretched. It has gone all the way beyond Garden City Mall. It starts at Safari Park Hotel coming towards town. So Thika Superhighway this morning, crazy. Kiambu Road, crazy. It goes all the way. It starts at Muthaiga North Road coming towards Muthaiga. And then after that, it clears up. Muranga Road is good. Wangari Maathai Road is good. Limuru Road is busy at the various avenues. First, second or third, Parklands Avenue. Those ones now start getting busy. As you get into town, Ngara is busy at the Globe Cinema roundabout. And we also know that Jogoo Road is as busy as usual.
Spice up your life.
Conversation continues 23 minutes to 8. We are here with Edgar Odari, Executive Director of Eco News Africa, talking about the pros and cons of the proposed strategic trade and investment partnership. A delegation from the United States of America is in the country this week to continue with conversations with the Kenyan delegation. So Kenyan delegation had visited America when again, Edgar?
It was, I think, January, if I'm not wrong.
Earlier this year.
Yes.
Kenyan delegation went, and now in these negotiations, the dowry negotiations, so now they are coming to our home. Yes. Now they're coming here for further conversations. The delegation that is coming to Kenya,
yes.
How many people does it comprise?
I am not sure, but it's a large delegation. So, for example, the digital trade chapter has, like I told you, 12 negotiators from the private sector. That's digital trade chapter alone.
Are they part of the negotiations or are they accompanying the negotiators?
They're part of their negotiators. They are negotiators.
The private sector?
Yes. I don't know, the way the Americans work, I don't understand how they work. So you have 12 negotiators in the digital trade chapter coming from lobbyists in the digital trade industry. The Googles, the Amazons, and the likes. And, that would mean at least let's also put KEPSA. If you ask me, why can't we also put KEPSA in those negotiations and have them?
Edgar, are you sure that the private sector is involved?
I am very sure.
So that in the delegation, the conversation in the room will be officials from the government of Kenya and from the
negotiators.
Across the table on the other side will be private sector.
No, they are not called private sector. They've been given designation to negotiate on behalf of government. So assuming, let's say the government wants to make Edgar a negotiator. I am given official credentials and I become a negotiator. When I go there, I don't go as Edgar from Eco News Africa. I go as Edgar representing the government of Kenya.
Okay.
So that's what is happening.
Okay.
Yes.
And Kenya, all the people on the other side are civil servants.
Yes.
Do we have within the civil service people who are known to be good negotiators?
Yes.
Because it's a skill. It's not that you've got a job, so you got to negotiate.
Let me tell you, Kenya has negotiators. I'll give you an example. There's Ambassador Nelson Dirangu. He's the immediate former chair of the Competition Authority.
Yes.
He just left. Government is changing, so they put in their people. He used to be a negotiator in Geneva at the WTO level. So if you ask me, he's retired. But if it was up to me, by the way,
he's experienced enough.
Yes. Okay. I would put such a guy in the negotiation table. You don't, just because someone is retired, you don't throw out your best minds because that you want to you are in a new government. I mean, who advises?
Was he part of the conversation? You are jumping. Are you saying he's not in the conversation?
He's not.
And the people in the conversation, I think that's what CT is asking. Do they have the requisite pedigree to actually negotiate?
No, they're actually qualified. It's
So
just
they are.
that.
Having a job, having a designation doesn't qualify you as a good negotiator. It doesn't. Especially if your appointment is political. What it means is that you have the fundamental requirements for that position. That's a given.
So-
As to whether you are a negotiator, that is a completely different story.
So let me give you an example. If you take Alfred Komodo, who's the PS trade, as the chief negotiator, and you take the pedigree of Ambassador Nelson Dirangu, it's like you're weighing different things. You're comparing apples to bananas. They're not the same pedigree.
Okay.
And what China did, if you look at China was negotiating with the US for a trade agreement, they brought in some nice experienced guy. This is like a veteran. He would not speak. He advises the juniors and they go negotiate. Then they come back to him and report. And when he doesn't speak, but when he speaks, his word is final. That kind of negotiation.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
But on our team, we have people who have participated in negotiations before.
Yes.
In trade negotiations.
Yes, but I don't see a team that usually, I was, like I told you, because of my work at Siatini, Kenya, I participated in trade negotiations under the East African Community, European Union, Economic Partnership Agreement. The team that negotiated there is not, I don't see them.
Let me ask you this question. This European Union pact understanding negotiated,
Yes.
What was it about?
It was a trade agreement between the EU and the East African Community.
Okay.
Yes.
Meaning what? When we trade with the EU, what do we give them? What do they give us? How do we benefit?
So when you trade with the EU,
where's the benefit?
When you trade with the EU, let's look at horticulture. We supply a lot of flowers to the EU. We supply fruits and vegetables and whatnot to the EU, and they're benefiting a lot of people.
So flowers, fruits, and vegetables.
Yes, that's the example I can get.
Okay.
But then the EU was asking for so much. So, for example, they were asking us to remove our export taxes. If you remove export taxes, what does that mean? You're only able to export raw materials. Because if you put export taxes, it means for you to export raw cashew nuts, we slap you with a tax. Raw macadamia nuts. We slap you with a tax, tell you have to add value locally. If you add value locally, you're employing more people. Yes. So, they were able to get that concession out of us. We removed export taxes in the agreement. We were not able to protect. There was a clause about protection of infant industries. We gave that away. So, I don't like the agreement.
So what exactly were we negotiating?
You were represented by Edgar Asking.
No. I was not representing. I was just cogging the wheel.
All these things.
No, you guys were there to just give them things.
We made these noises. Sometimes when you make noise. No, CT, let me tell you something. Sometimes when you make noise and you are loud, someone looks at you and says, this is a madman. But there's a method to the madness. You get my point? Sometimes you don't, when we raise some of these issues, we're not raising them because we want to antagonize government. We are saying, look.
All right.
Yes.
Let me ask a more specific question. In this group of people who are negotiating for Kenya, and let's start with your group, because you participate in it. How many people did you have in that group who had read, understood the thinking and the philosophy behind European Union negotiations?
Well, what they did, the European Union employed a negotiator for us. He was called, I think, Bernard Kagira. He was paid by the EU to help us negotiate. No, it's the truth. I have to tell you. It's not me telling. It's not my choice, but that's the way it was. Then we had other people negotiating in the room, and we had sectoral meetings. And the European Union, to be fair, by the way, the EU negotiation was a bit better because we had access to those texts. And kama sielewi kitu, I would go to talk to experts who are in the field and tell them, by the way, we have this thing we are negotiating. Can you tell us what this is?
Let me tell you why I'm asking you this. Conglomerations like the EU and America don't just rely on private sector and government. No, their private sector and academia work hand in hand. So when you find somebody who's supposed to be a private sector negotiator, you do not know that, just be in the back room. the
amount of academia that has gone into it.
That has gone into it before they actually make that presentation.
That's true.
And even with government, they have that same sort of backup. So it's not someone who was given a job and feels that because they've got this job, they are now the person who is best placed to do that. Now, maybe in this country, we have that arrangement. I have not heard of it, so I don't know, so I cannot speak about it. But I'm asking these questions because when you talk about negotiations for agreements, I'm looking at the recent past.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the SGR.
Yes.
Those things are negotiated.
Yes.
I'm looking at this expressway. I'm looking at things we've done.
Yes.
The roads we've built.
Yes.
I'm looking at all these and I'm wondering, who was negotiating on our behalf? I have to ask that question because, yes, we see a road. We see a railway. We see all that. But thereafter, the attendant benefits that are supposed to come with the amount of money that these projects have cost, which should be reflected in the lives of people here and in our economy, one doesn't see it. So you ask the question, the people who went to negotiate, what were they negotiating exactly?
It's almost like you are taking words out of my mouth, City.
I am, huh?
You are.
Oh.
Let me tell you.
Have you heard what this guy said? That I'm taking words from his mouth. All right? Let me return them then.
So, we need to have a conversation about a developmental state. Government must take charge of development and take it seriously. You know, he has his mistakes, but Paul Kagame of Rwanda seems to get things right. He's made some mistakes in the process, but he seems to get something right. We can learn examples from there. We need to talk about developmental state.
For example?
Rwanda, Dubai. You know, you craft a vision in the country and everyone else aligns to that vision. You need alignment so that all of us are working towards the same goal. But this idea, you know, you have rent-seeking guys. Someone is coming in to discuss a contract, but they're looking at what they'll pocket at the end of the day. You have others who are saying they want to get votes, so they're doing a project because they want to get votes. We need to have a national philosophy of what we want to do.
You know something? You know, you can actually pocket money if you wish, and the country can still benefit.
That's fine, yes. That's true. That's very true.
We don't seem to see that beyond the infrastructure that we supposedly negotiated for. Okay?
Yes.
It's like we have the road, we have the railway, but we have more problems.
Yes.
So, that is why one has to question the people who went to negotiate on our behalf. What on earth were they negotiating? Or are we being unkind and that they had the job of negotiating, but they were incompetent? They were not the people who are best placed to negotiate for us.
Two things. Either we have incompetent people or, you know, there's if you go into government, there's a very big sense of importance. There's so much title. People like titles. So kama mimi ndio nimekaa kwa hiyo kiti, mimi ndio na negotiate. I am the man. You know, so you know, you cannot, even a junior can't question. And maybe that junior might have a much better understanding of those issues. But because the final authority is the guy on the chair who has a red carpet in his office, and you can't question him. That's the problem we have.
The power of the pen.
Yes.
So we are getting into these negotiations. I mean, they are already progressing. They had started in the Trump administration.
Yes.
They changed. Do you think which of them is better?
Which one?
The Biden deal or the Trump deal?
Americans are the same, man. Democrats,
the other one was a free trade agreement.
Yes?
This isn't a free trade agreement.
Yes,
this is a strategic trade and investment partnership.
It's like, so the difference is you're negotiating maybe 40-50% of what you would have negotiated.
So we are taking just a smaller bit.
Yes.
Okay.
But let me give you an example. For example, in agriculture, we are negotiating. Let me tell you what happened in Mexico. The U.S. negotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement with Mexico and Canada.
Yep.
After implementing it for a while, 2 million Mexican farmers were put out of business. Listen to that. 2 million Mexican farmers were put out of business, and their land was taken over by American corporations who are basically consolidating that land. Is that what we want in this country?
So did the agreement allow the American businessmen to
invest in a...
No, it's basically, you see, the agreement was signed, but they never discussed the question of disciplining dumping.
Yeah.
Dumping is basically, America gives a lot of subsidies, America and Canada. They give a lot of subsidies to their farmers.
They do.
And because of that, these farmers are able to sell, they are selling at about 67% cheaper than the Mexicans. So someone brings a product to your country and they're able to sell their product 67% cheaper than you. You'll take
But
you're done.
I mean, I'm not an economist, but those are what you call unfair trade agreements. I mean, surely
yes,
it's unfair even from the get-go. You don't even need to be an economist to understand.
It is.
Yes.
So for me, I know they're not.
So you're fearing that this could be another NAFTA?
Yes. We may not be discussing market access for the moment. But let me tell you something else. The agreement on agriculture that is at the World Trade Organization was written by a private company, Kagil. You know about Kagil? You know Kagil? Kagil.
I have
depends
heard of
on
the
your
name.
English teacher. Yeah. So a company wrote the agreement on agriculture at the WTO.
A private entity.
Yes.
Agreement with who?
That agreement is binding all countries that are members of the WTO. Written by a private company.
Yes, but again, I have to ask this question. The fact that it's written by a private company,
Yes.
are we then imputing that this private company wrote something that would be of benefit to them?
Yes, of course.
Only?
Of course.
And there's evidence to support this?
Yes.
And everybody else was blind to this.
So developing countries are at a loss because they're implementing an agreement that was written with private sector interests at heart.
You know, this private sector interest doesn't bother me very much.
Not a big one.
Not really.
I want to ask again.
Who's private sector? Maybe that's what you should ask.
I want to ask.
Yes.
2023, 24, 25.
Yes.
AGOA comes to an end.
Yes.
You've said out of the 6,500 products that we had access to for the last 25 years.
Which only 11% we used.
Yeah. Why did we use only 11%?
Capacity.
Whose capacity?
Let me tell you, there's something called the Agreement on Sanitary and Phytosanitary Standards.
Okay.
That's another animal that was written by the private sector in the US.
Okay.
That agreement, let me try to simplify it. If a Mzungu comes here and buys a banana from City Market, he eats it directly. Anaenda nyumbani, anakula hata, you don't even wash.
As long as it's in Kenya.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Mzungu has come here and bought the banana, he eats it.
Just like the way Edgar would buy a banana and eat it.
Just the same way. Now, if you now want to take that banana to the US, to export it to the US, I'm not sure about the SPS requirement, but for example, one product requires that you treat it with methyl bromide and store under negative 10 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
From farm to fork.
Okay.
Now, meeting some of those requirements, so you're telling a farmer mwenye amekata ndizi, someone who's cut his banana, you're telling him, first of all, go purchase methyl bromide. Where will you find the methyl bromide? Then you're telling him, you need to freeze that product at negative 10 degrees all the way to the time it will arrive at the farm, at the person who's going to eat it. It's impossible.
Why is it impossible?
No, it is not impossible, Edgar.
Why is it impossible, Edgar?
I'm not saying it's impossible, but what I'm trying to say is
what's the challenge? 23 years in the making.
Yes.
Why? And you know that this would then guarantee these farmers access to a wider market.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Why has it not been done?
Some of those requirements, you know, the other thing is the amount of time it takes to approve some of those accesses. So sometimes they use those rules to block. I'll give you an example. Namibia, when Hillary Clinton was here during AGOA, I was the one who wrote the civil society report for the AGOA meeting. That was around 2009. Namibia was complaining. Namibia was saying they have been applying to start exporting beef to the United States for 7 years.
Okay.
It has taken 7 years to approve them to start exporting beef to the US.
Okay.
So sometimes they use these rules to block.
So Namibia is now exporting beef through AGOA?
I think so, yes.
And Kenya?
No.
Why?
We have not invested in capacity.
God, see? Everything you are saying is actually possible. You know why? You are looking at this subsistence farmer who has a banana tree.
Yes.
Instead of looking at the community that grows bananas. Yes. Okay?
Yes.
Because if it's the community and you want to assist them, brother, this is the 21st century. You can get mobile refrigeration. Okay? Meaning that minus whatever it is you want.
Yes.
You can have a storage that can move and go there during harvesting season. Everything you're saying can be done.
I mean, all this.
But it needs commitment.
If you think about it, commitment and all. If you think about it, we are basically talking about even reducing post-harvest losses. It makes sure that one tree of banana and whatever bunch of bananas you get, all of them can get to the market. Today, ask any banana farmer in this country.
Yes.
How much post-harvest loss they endure.
It's significant.
How many mangoes get rotten in Makueni and Ukambani? How many? Just because, so what I want to ask is, this civil society that is very active and saying, no, we should not be negotiating directly with America. We should have gone through Africa. We should have gone through EAC. Where have you been in the last 25 years and not, in fact, looking at how we can improve this 11% to at least get to 50%?
Yes.
Now, very good question. I think Maputo Protocol requires that governments invest at least 10% of their national budget on agriculture. I don't know the figures now, but it's not 10%. So, we are not implementers. We are the ones who can say, please, government, make sure you invest at least 10% of the national budget. If you take 10% of the national budget, it will be around 300 million. I'm not sure, 300 billion into agriculture.
10% of 3.6, yes.
So 360 billion.
Yep.
So if government, I don't know what the budget for agriculture sector is, but if government should be investing about 360 billion shillings in the agricultural sector, we can be, Makueni has proved to us, formerly Governor Kibwana, he has proved to us that you can do it. You just need financial commitment and good mindset to be able to do it.
So if we negotiate with America directly, and we put our ducks in a row, so we'll benefit.
Yes.
Instead of waiting for the
it's not automatic.
The day Tanzania, Uganda, now Somalia will come in, South Sudan, until all of us agree and then go into the negotiation.
To his credit, he's not come here today. We were supposed to meet him today, Ambassador David Gasheru. There are people who have seen that vision. So I spoke to Ambassador David Gasheru and he told me that the vision, the reason why they do not want market access for the time being is to be able to grow the agricultural sector in Kenya, to be able to export to the US. That is a vision. It needs to be accompanied by action. Now, he's an ambassador there. If he's advising this government, I don't know if he's a negotiator or what, if he's advising this government, the next thing would be, put your money where your mouth is. Leta pesa, invest 360 billion Kenya shillings into the agricultural sector, invest into the value chain. Get those farmers, invest in cold storage techniques and whatnot. Try to teach them to be able to meet American standards in terms of sanitary and phytosanitary SPS standards. Then you start exporting to the US. So, for example, you're telling me, I wish he was here. You're telling me that organic salad.
What on earth is that?
No, just salad, vegetables.
But the organic variety.
The organic variety.
Okay.
It's a hot cake in New York. Forget even about the entire American. It's a hot cake in New York. So assuming we train farmers who do organic farming, and this is why we don't even need to do GMOs, by the way. If we can be able to do
just organic farming
and start growing the products that will be able to make a salad in New York, then we train small-scale farmers and tell them, start exporting to New York. We train them and give them the necessary tools, be it freezing, frozen trucks and whatnot, we give them. Then we train them and tell them, if you want to export, this is how you store it, this is how you... Everything, the entire process. Why can't we start exporting so that the next person who eats the salad in New York eats from Kenya?
But Edgar,
yes,
in 1960,
yes,
people grew flowers just for aesthetic purposes and for their own interests. We export flowers, Kenya. We export.
Yes.
And for us to export, it means we meet those standards. Whenever I see something that is being done, these complicated things we talk about, what I read is it's doable. Somewhere along the line, there's a bottleneck that has been created, but it's doable.
City Muga, it's almost like we discussed with you before we started having this conversation. Now, there's something. Look, we are exporting to the EU. If we're exporting to the EU exports its products to the US. If we are meeting EU standards,
we can also meet American standards.
We are meeting. No, we are meeting them.
Yeah.
So it's a question. The term for that is called equivalence. It's called equivalence. So if we are meeting EU standards, we are able to meet American standards.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep track of what will be happening this week. We hope to invite you maybe at the end of this.
Yes.
Come with a list of who our negotiators are, who the negotiators
Bring one of those
are.
negotiators.
All those things.
Let's negotiate this thing with them.
Yes.
Let's bring them here. Edgar Odari is the executive director of Econews Africa. We've been talking about the proposed Kenya-USA Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. Keep it here for more conversations in the next hour. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Asset. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the warring parties in Sudan. President William Ruto asked IGAD leaders to take a firm position on the crisis to restore peace in the country.
Because of where we are and the real danger that Sudan faces today with the sporadic fighting, and therefore I have 3 suggestions to make. That number 1, as IGAD and as heads of state, that we ask for an immediate cessation of hostilities between the combatants. Number 2 is to move with speed and conclude on this one matter, on the matter that is causing this whole problem. We provide a mechanism as IGAD, together with our partners, on how this single matter of integration of RSF is resolved. The timelines is resolved. We should not allow this single matter to torpedo the whole agreement and the efforts of many to go down the drain.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has intimated that Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka would have been awarded the mandate of leading the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if he chose to join the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Speaking in Machakos, Gachagua said that President William Ruto had intended to make Kalonzo the cabinet secretary for the ministry up until he insisted on remaining in the Azimio la Umoja coalition. President Ruto was gracious nonetheless that he chose to return the position to Kambani and awarded it to Alfred Mutua, who is the current CS heading the docket. This is according to the DP Rigathi Gachagua.
The president loves this community. The president has been here countless times. Amekuja, amejenga kanisa, amechangia wamama, amenunua basi ya shule, amemtembelea. Huyu rais wetu alisema anataka nyinyi mkuwe ndani ya serikali yake mumsaidie. Wakati ya serikali ya handshake na Azimio mlikuwa na waziri moja peke yake. Huyu rais wetu amepatia nyinyi mawaziri 3. Hii ilikuwa ya Monica Juma, imeongezwa mamlaka, sasa ni National Security Advisor kwa serikali ya William Ruto. On top of that, amempatia nyinyi ile kiti ilikuwa ya Kalonzo. Mjue hii rais anampenda. Si mnajua ile ilikuwa ya Kalonzo? Na hivi Kalonzo angekuja angepatiwa. Akasema anataka kukaa kwa Azimio.
And now Kenya Party leader Martha Karua has warned police officers against following illegal orders during protest. Speaking at Azimio la Umoja Coalition's public banazi at Kamkunji grounds, Karua told police they should not accept to be used to punish Kenyans.
Askari wetu polisi, nyinyi ni ndugu zetu, nyinyi ni danda zetu. Wacha kutumika vibaya na kuumiza Mkenya mwenzako. Stop obeying illegal orders. Waliambiwa wanaazimio wakienda maandamano ya amani watuue na live bullet. Kesho yake maandamano ikafanyika kule Chuka, lakini polisi hawakuelewa ya kwamba amri ni ya kuua wanaazimio peke yake. Waliua watu 2 Chuka wakifuatilia ile amri ya maandamano ya Azimio. Hiyo ni kuonyesha ukipanga maovu kwa wengine, maovu inaweza kukurudia.
And the Inspector General of Police, Jafeth Kami, has urged his officers to discharge their duties without fear, speaking against the backdrop of a letter written by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition to the International Criminal Court to investigate the police for human rights violations during recent demonstrations. He said police officers took an oath to serve the country without fear or favor. He maintained that he would not be intimidated by threats by opposition leaders to take him to the ICC for allegedly brutalizing protesters.
Us as a National Police Service, we are not at all intimidated by those letters. Therefore, I wish to request my fellow members of the National Police Service not to be intimidated at all. Hata ukisema nini enda huko. I have patriotic police officers who will take over from me and do the job. There's somebody who lost 20 million in one day. Is that letter, has that been mentioned? Or is just mentioning Koome to intimidate him? That will not happen. I will not be intimidated. When it comes to looting, destroying property, killing people, maiming people, injuring people, that will not happen. Not under my watch.
And Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja says City Mortuary will be rebranded and named Nairobi Funeral Home. Sakaja made the revelations while inspecting the ongoing modifications at the Mbagathi Road facility. The governor said that works at the facility were already underway. Installations of new cooling systems, cold room doors and drainage works are complete. According to a City Mortuary report this month, Nairobi's main public morgue has 142 cooling units, but only 33 are in use. Sakaja noted that in order to keep work at the morgue flowing, 63 cooling units will be installed to bridge the gap. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
It's peak traffic hour and the Thika Superhighway is not looking good at all. Its traffic stretches all the way to Safari Park Hotel coming towards the CBD. Also, Outer Ring Road has also been affected then. So Outer Ring Road, in that road into Ruaraka Babadogo Road, is also now jam-packed, and Outer Ring Road at the entry of Outer Ring Road from Thika Superhighway, busy. Kiambu Road going all the way to Muthaiga North Road. Into the CBD, Ngara Road and Muranga Road at Globe Cinema Roundabout, very busy. Uhuru Highway is busy coming into the town and getting out of town, and that is between Nyayo Stadium, not Nyayo Stadium, but Haile Selassie Roundabout and Nyayo House, that's Kenyatta Avenue Roundabout. Ngong Road is busy at the lights. Langata Road is now busy into T-Mall, into Mbagathi Way. It's also busy into Aerodrome Road, which is very busy. Lusaka Road at Nyayo Stadium Roundabout is very busy. Basically, it's busy everywhere, okay? It's just all blinking red on my screen. Just be patient. Wherever you're going, you'll get there. There's no major accident to report, and so there's no major cause of this morning's traffic. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to
8
start
minutes
your
after
day.
8, the conversation continues. How are you doing? Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the Situation Room. It's live on Spice FM, live on KTN Home, live on YouTube, live on Facebook. If you miss a conversation at any point during the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., you can actually catch up with the conversation later. Just go to our YouTube page, Spice FM, and you will find all our conversations. You can also go to our Facebook page as well, Spice FM KE, and you catch up with the conversations happening throughout. Songambele na Kingdom Bank. If you are an individual, a business, or an organization and you're looking to save or invest funds for great returns, Kingdom Bank is offering the best interest earning accounts for your investment, earning up to 10% interest rate from as little as 50,000 shillings on the fixed and call deposits for periods of 3, 6, and 12 months. So they're talking about fixed savings and junior savings accounts. And you can get more information by visiting any of the Kingdom Bank branches, or all you need to do is you call them 0709 881300, 0709 881300. Earn this today. Songambele na Kingdom Bank. We are now joined by two guests who are joining us, and they are Peter Mushendo has been here before. He's a governance expert. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show again.
Good to have you too, and I'm really honored to be here this morning.
And you have come with Mundalo Advice. Mundalo is the National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. Good morning, Mundalo.
Good morning.
Mundalo Advice.
Mundalo Advice.
All right. Not advice, it's advice.
It's advice.
Okay. The one, the verb, not the noun.
The noun.
Or the noun, not the verb.
Not the verb.
Okay. Important to distinguish.
Yeah.
He's the noun. He's not the verb.
Yeah.
Sawa, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Ati National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party.
Yes.
What's that?
I chair the youth wing, or mostly called the Youth League of the Jubilee Party. That means I serve in the NEC, in the National Executive Committee of the party.
Okay.
Yes, and during the campaign, I was the coordinator for the Azimio Youth campaign for the presidential election.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which wing of Jubilee do you now represent?
Jubilee Party is one. Jubilee Party
it's one.
The party is one.
It has wings.
The party is one. Of course, we have a bit of internal wrangle, but that is about to be sorted out.
Okay.
Yes. So the party is as intact as ever. It is one party. Yes.
It's one indivisible party.
One political party.
Very good.
Yes.
City.
Yes.
Please give the gentleman our proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Burkina Faso. One can only believe the fish that says the eye of the crocodile is rotten.
One can only believe the fish that says the eye of the crocodile is rotten. One advice. What's your interpretation of this?
Yeah, that's quite a deep one. My interpretation of that would be that because this fish has come back, that means the crocodile might not have actually seen this fish. So one can only believe someone who talks about something or a situation that they have been to, as opposed to someone who is talking about a situation or something that they have no relationship with. That would be my interpretation of the proverb.
Moshendo, would you say
I think simply they are saying that that fish is giving a testimony that the crocodile is yet to find it, and that is why it is surviving.
That's why it's alive.
So when that fish says that the crocodile eyes have a problem, it will be people will tend to believe it, because otherwise, how did it survive?
How did
so I think I would agree with him that we are talking people who may have survived a thing here or there, and they are saying it is because this and this did not get me. Anyway, that word of proverb is not my best. And of course, the Western Africa literature is a very interesting literature. So
rich.
Very rich. Very rich.
It's akin to the Swahili one. Aisifuye mvua imemnyea.
Definitely, actually. Yeah.
You've never had that one, Peter.
Unajua Uswahili bana, mimi mi hata nikiitwa mazungumzo ya Kiswahili sio mdomo changu. Probably even Swahili could have a little bit messed up my results, because it's not my strongest. You cannot be good in everything.
You're not good in the national language.
Bora do you have enough to communicate. Yes.
All right. The headlines in the papers today, is what has happened over the weekend. And advice. Your party, which is part of the Azimio, is talking about the negotiations, the what's it called, bipartisan dialogue.
Yeah.
And basically, Azimio is saying this bipartisan dialogue, if it's to happen, it will happen outside of Parliament, and it's insisting on that and saying we shall continue engaging with the people until then. And in the meantime, Azimio leadership is writing to the ICC saying, you need to look at people here who are behaving in a certain way.
Yeah.
What direction is this whole conversation heading?
I think, first of all, thank you for having me here. I think it's my first time on what is Kenya's Bold Conversation. I call it the most mature conversation we have in the Republic. What is happening in the bipartisan talks? I think the first thing we have to agree is that there is a semblance of lack of goodwill in this conversation. The president made a very bold move to call out and give his blueprint that we need to have these talks. And Raila Odinga, in equal measure, accepted to have these talks. But the problem is getting in where you look at the goodwill from now, the supporters of both the president and Raila Odinga, and it gets murky. And so we get to a point where you are not, now everyone is not trusting the other one per se. And this actually started mostly with the Kenya Kwanza faction that started saying these are the things we have to discuss. They started coming up with the issues, yet they were not the ones who had the problem in the first place. So the Kenya Kwanza side of the political divide is the one which from the onset expressed total disregard and lack of goodwill for these talks. And that's why we're able to see now Azimio getting to a position where now they have to be able to say we have to continue consulting the people, we have to do these things in tandem. So we have gotten here because of lack of goodwill, especially from the Kenya Kwanza side of these talks. We've seen what they have said. We saw the press conference from the majority leader in both houses and you could not see people who are eager to actually solve the problem. We have people who are eager to escalate the problem, and that's where the problem is.
We Kenya Kwanza is represented here, so we will hear what Kenya Kwanza has to
say. you know, Mdalo and company, they want to have their cake and eat it at the same time. Unless my English teacher did not teach me well to understand what is a bipartisan talk, these guys just want the agendas they presented to be the one on the table. I mean, for heaven's sake, this is supposed to be a bipartisan talk. You bring your issues, we bring our issues. You see, maybe I may have a different view on the entire issue of bipartisan, because if I was part of government and making decision, I probably would not have gone that way. But nonetheless, it is here with us. You present your issues, and the other side presents the issues.
So what are the issues that Kenya Kwanza has presented? Kenya Kwanza seems to have removed issues.
Yes, what I am saying is, even without going to the very issues that were there, the truth of the matter is that the president initiated the first press conference to call for talks. And 2 hours later, the leader of my friend here and his cahoots did a press conference and said were they 6-point agenda? I can't remember there were how many. 10. This is what we want to be brought on the table. 2 days later, on Tuesday last week, Kenya Kwanza nominated their people to that particular bipartisan talks and said, these are the agendas we want discussed. Now, the most interesting thing is that the guys from the other side started interrogating those issues even before that committee did its first meeting to actually discuss. I mean, the urgency at which Kenyans disregard the very things they create it will amaze you. These guys have created a team that is supposed to negotiate on their behalf. Of course, in any negotiation, and I have come listening to the issues of trade negotiations as you are discussing them when I was on the road, you always present what is called a hardline position. Then when you sit, you start softening up if what is being discussed. So these guys thought that they were coming into, the way you would appear into, when we were young people and we were playing soccer, we would use a group that would blockade our or the opposing team not to get to the field in time so that we are given a walkover. So the Azimio guys, they are trying to intimidate us so that they can come and have a walkover in terms of that bipartisan. Unfortunately, they have found that the people they were trying to blockade are already prepared. So this is my point. I do not see the sense of threats and intimidation either from any side. If you have agreed that you want to have a bipartisan talk, this is what I would say. Let them not prosecute those issues on media. If Azimio has a team that they have appointed to do it, let that team come and sit. If the majority leader and his team have agreed this is a team I want to work with, because what we are being treated to right now, sorry to say, is what you call circus. We are being treated into a circus from either side, because I told you I like being balanced. What was the very purpose of having teams to represent you, who are yet to go into a boardroom and discuss? After they fail to agree, then that is the time they should come and tell us this thing is not working. But you cannot try and tell us that an infant that has just been born and has not started to take staple and hard food, that is not going anywhere, and those people you have put responsible are yet even to sit in one room. Today, we have a bill in Parliament that has been brought to actually anchor the talks in the legal formation of that particular committee. That is yet to take off. But we are being treated to circus. My friend here is returning to go to the streets again. I know Mdaro here must be on that Jubilee wing B, the one that puts sufurias on the head. So they are telling us they want to go back to the street with sufurias.
That cannot be wing. That is the main one.
You see. But I would say, like the president has said, because I come from Mount Kenya, where we produce a lot of potatoes and what have you. Putting sufurias in this city cannot be converted. Jesus only converted 5 loaves and 2 fishes into bread over 2,000 years ago. So putting sufurias in your head in this city cannot bring down the cost of living and the cost of food. What brings the cost of food down? It is Jeremiah Kioni stopping to put sufurias on his head and go back to Daragwa and cultivate potatoes. It is Mudaro to stop putting sufurias on his head and go back to his home and bring us a lot of fish. It is Mushendo to go back to Deya and plant a lot of maize. There is abundance of rain. Government has given subsidized fertilizer.
Now that you've brought the fertilizer.
I mean, like, what do I live, bana?
Mushendo.
Yes.
You know, when you speak here, you usually speak and you speak for, the common man.
Yes.
You bring in issues and say, government is doing all those things.
Yes.
But hapako ground.
Yes.
In Deya.
Yes.
Are farmers receiving subsidized
Yes,
fertilizer?
they are. I am a recipient of that fertilizer. You remember you hosted...
Take us through that whole process.
Yes, you remember you hosted the general manager of Rimuru Day.
Yes.
Now, government in the entire of Kiambu County has only one national serious board center in Thika.
Yep.
So they do not really have a system where they are able to distribute fertilizers on their own. So in Kiambu, we came up with a plan. Why don't we use our dailies? Because we have dailies all over the entire Kiambu County. Every constituency has at least a daily or 2. So, for instance, in our case in Limuru, the fertilizer is stored at the stores of Limuru Daily Farmers and Cooperative Society. You register, you register your name, you give your details, you give your intention on where you want to farm, because the idea is that if fertilizer is being distributed in Limuru, it is being used to farm within Limuru. So you register your plot number where you want to farm. Within 4 or 5 days, you are now in the database and you receive a text telling you to go and get a subsidized fertilizer. In this case, I am using NPK. It is going for 3,000 shillings per bag of a 10 kg bag.
How many are you entitled to receive?
No, you can receive as many as possible. The reason last time I picked 15, I had picked 10 before. So you see, the rationale which is used in Limuru might be different from what is being used in the Rift Valley, because Rift Valley people are doing what you call large-scale farming of maize. In Limuru, we are not that blessed to have a lot of land. So the rationale that is being used in Limuru might not be the same.
May be different.
In Rift Valley, but in Limuru...
For accountability purposes,
yes.
How is accountability happening? As I understand, we hosted the PS for... crop development.
Yes.
And he was telling us about those 11 counties in the North Rift.
Yes.
He said registration was being done by chiefs. So a chief would go to to a farmer,
yes,
register the farmer,
yes,
register the size of acreage of
yes,
the farmer, register
yes,
the crop that the farmer is producing,
yes,
and then that database is now
yes,
taken to the government,
yes,
and then the farmer receives now an alert on their phone,
yes,
farmer so and so, Peter Mushendo,
yes,
come to NCPB Thika or come to Limuru Kwabera Dairy Cooperative,
yes,
and pick your
yes,
fertilizer.
Yes,
you are saying it's the other way around. In this particular case in Kiambu,
yes,
Peter Mushendo is going there and saying, me, I have 20 acres. And that's it.
No, you see what happens.
How do we verify
that's what I wanted
Peter
to tell you.
Mushendo
The reason why chiefs are not necessarily being used in Kiambu County. Chiefs have been used in places where there is a lot of large tracts of land. In there, when you come and you say, I want to plant plot, say plot Deya the Gio plot number 1201, the Kenya National Serious Board have what you call a survey map.
Okay.
And the survey map will show what you call a mutation, shows the size of that particular land you have said. If, say for instance, that land, when they look at the what you call the mutation and see the land is, say, like 0.8 hectares, that is 2 acres. They are able to quickly determine 2 acres, if you are cultivating the entire, in the belief that you are cultivating the entire 2 acres, they have their parameters of deciding how much do you need to cultivate for 2 acres. So that is why they insist that you must put up your plot number, because they have a survey map and they have a mutation to know the size of that plot. And so when you're being given fertilizer, you cannot be given fertilizer that is beyond the area that you have put. Number 2, they will also have what you call extension officers visit the ground. You don't just receive fertilizer because you have said you want it. There is a deliberate plan. Now, the reason I'm telling you, Kiambu, we are not using the chief weights because we don't have a lot of NCPB offices like in the North Rift where they have so many outlets for fertilizers. So that is why the same responsibility has been charged with the dairies, because the dairies have the database for farmers. They can easily do it and do it better.
Okay.
So in Limuru, even right now, and I'm talking to you, there is a lot of fertilizer in the store at the Limuru the Limuru Daily Warehouse opposite the Limuru Fresh Plant. Anybody who wants to do can go there. You first register. You don't go walk in and walk out with the fertilizer. You register. They verify the details. Like in a week or 2, they will text you and tell you, come get your fertilizer.
So there's no possibility of fraud.
No. I have not seen any possibility of fraud because the fertilizer that moves out of Thika Depot is declared, and it is in the public realm that Limuru Daily Farmers Limuru branch has received this amount. When you receive the fertilizer, that is a record. It's a public record. Peter Mushendo of ID this and this, who is going to cultivate this plot number, has received this and this. That is detailed information that is in the public realm. Even today, you want to go to NCPB and get that information, you will get that. They may not give you the actual details like ID numbers, but they will show you the names and all those people who have received the fertilizer.
Mundalo, have you heard the same thing happening in other parts?
I wish the clarity with which Mushendo explains how this fertilizer is gotten was the clarity with which their farmers are actually getting it. Because the truth is, most of the fertilizer, the farmers in this country are still wondering where this subsidized fertilizer is. I would understand why my brother Mushendo would receive it, because you see he's a ranking member of the Kenya Kwanza administration, and in this government, in this government,
I will not allow you to go beyond there to mislead Kenya.
No. I think I allowed Mushendo to speak and interrupted.
Listen, one, it is very important to put records straight. Fact number 1. I do not hold any position in any of the coalition. Hold your horses.
I didn't say hold
your horses. Yeah, I do not hold any position in the ruling coalition, be either on the individual parties or the collective Kenya Kwanza coalition. I do not hold any position in government whatsoever. I am just one person who passionately voted for this government and who believes that this government, despite the challenges, can still actually deliver. So when you are talking to Kenyans, you are talking to a Kenyan who has an individual opinion on how government operates. I am not whatsoever an official
unlike
of government.
him, you're not a party official.
Yeah, I'm not a party official. You see, for him, he is part of the National Executive Council.
He's a high-ranking member.
Can I now go?
The former Jubilee.
Continue, Mundalo.
Yes, sir, by all means.
Yes, Mushendo is not an official of the Kenya Kwanza leadership in truth, but I said he's a ranking member, and that remains as it is. So, by his position of being a ranking member and in a government of shareholding, his shares are slightly higher. Mushendo's shares are slightly higher than the rest of the people. So that's why maybe actually in the first instance when you asked him how many...
I think on a very serious note,
I asked a question. Can you just respond to the question?
Exactly.
Yes. Fertilizer.
Yes. The fertilizer has not gotten to many people. Most of the farmers in this country have not actually accessed that.
How do you know this?
Because these farmers are speaking. These farmers are talking to us. These farmers are the ones who are joining even the streets and during the people consultative forums. So yes, I agree that yes, there has been disbursement of that subsidized fertilizer, but the extent of reach is not as is being explained by government.
Can I ask this question?
It has been very low.
But you're saying this,
I want us to take a break. It's 8:30. It's 8:30. Time for that break. Peter Mushendo, a ranking member.
I think I might find myself suing my brother here for a ranking member of what? But anyway,
Peter Mushendo is a governance expert, and Mundalo Advice is the National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. They're here this morning. We're talking about the state of the nation and tracking the promises that were made by the Kenya Kwanza administration that got them the winning number of votes. Kenya's biggest conversation takes this break and comes back. As we take the break, please go to showmax.com. If you have not subscribed to Showmax yet, go to showmax.com. Look at the packages that they have. Select the package that best suits you, whether you want a mobile one, whether you want a mobile plus other devices. Choose the one that you want. They have very good content on Showmax. The latest one is Kenya's first telenovela. It's called Second Family, starring Ian Bogwa, Nick Ndeda, and others in between the Katehis and the Langat families. Do that. Showmax.com, 28 to 9.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Expect a mostly sunny day in Nairobi today. Temperatures of 15 currently, going to rise to 23 and then drop down to 15 again. Kisumu sunny day at 22. Malindi sunny day at 28. Mombasa sunny at 26. Nyeri sunny at 17. A sunny day as well in Nakuru at 17. Sunny day in Kakamega at 21. Sunny as well in Eldoret at 15. And that's where the sun ends. When you go around the region, it's a cloudy morning in Kampala, 21. Cloudy in Kinshasa, 24. Cloudy in Lagos at 26. Partly sunny in Dar es Salaam at 24. Sunny in Johannesburg at 12. Rain in London at 9. New York is a cloudy evening and cloudy night at 13. And Paris is cloudy at 4. So there's been an accident this morning, and this is causing heavy traffic along Outer Ring Road near Babadogo exit. A Githurai bus reportedly has overturned. Several injuries there. People have been taken to hospital. So I'm looking at the map now, and yes, indeed, the traffic around that area of Babadogo into Ruaraka is heavy. Outer Ring Road heading towards Thika Superhighway, very, very busy. Thika Superhighway joining into Outer Ring Road, also very, very busy, causing the traffic to back up all the way to Garden City Mall that comes into the Outer Ring Road GSU junction. After that, it clears up, and then traffic again begins at Kenya Utalii College, heading towards the CBD. It meets with the Kiambu Road traffic at Muthaiga, and after that, it clears up at the Pangani Tunnel. So Muranga Road is good, Wangari Maathai Road is good, and then Uhuru Highway is busy as you leave Museum Hill Interchange and you come towards University Way roundabout and Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. Uhuru Highway is very busy at Nyayo Stadium roundabout, at Bunyala roundabout. Aerodrome Road is also very busy. So is Langata Road into T-Mall Junction. Mbagathi Way is busy, and the road into Makadara is also quite busy. Jogoo Road is busy. North Airport Road is still looking quite busy. Likoni Road, as you come towards the southern bypass, it's also busy.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Conversation
Nairobi.
continues. Peter Mushendo, governance expert, and he's joined by the Jubilee Party's National Youth Chairman, Mundalo Advice. CT, you had a question before you took the break.
You know, but Mushendo actually explained something very well, that within the county he comes from, they have very well organized dairies. Every constituency, sub-county has them. Now, which means they have organized SACCOs. Now, once you have organized SACCOs, and if the distribution point is in Thika, it is not difficult to distribute. They found an easy way to get to the farm, because all these SACCOs have members and they know the individuals.
Yep.
They even know they know literally everything that you have.
Yep.
Now, that cannot be said of other parts of the country where the fertilizer is being distributed. So the effort, the purpose may be there. The fertilizer may actually land where it's supposed to land, but the problem now is in the distribution network. That may pose a problem, because we are farmers. Even here where we work, we have colleagues who are farmers, and I've had conversations with them. And the ones I've had a conversation with have not received. They have one or two relatives who've received the SMS. The others tell me they have waited, they have not received, and they are still waiting. So it isn't that the fertilizer isn't available. It is that the distribution seems to have a problem. This matter of communicating with the farmers and making sure that the farmers, but then it gets the heart of the matter. If the fertilizer doesn't get to the farmer, then the fertilizer is of no use.
Well, you have to accept that where we have what we call large-scale farming in the country, there is a lot of challenges in terms of disbursement of that fertilizer. And I think the NCPB is actually addressing this. They have started getting what we call them portable points of corrections and portable points of mobile. That is mobile corrections, so that they are able to give that fertilizer. Because then again, as you have said, if that fertilizer does not get to a farmer in time, it might prove to be not really useful about it. So I think we have to accept the challenge. The fertilizer is there. The distribution process could be the challenge. And I think maybe this is something that needs to be addressed holistically, so that going forward, if you are giving fertilizer in other seasons, there will not be these challenges, that we will now have a well-maintained database of farmers. And just like the way we do pre-qualifications of companies, the NCPB should open a portal where you continue to add farmers as they come.
Yeah.
So that when you are distributing a fertilizer, you are distributing it based on the number of farmers in a certain region.
And also looking into the distribution channel, there was a story last week in the papers. I think it was it the Standard the Nation City that we read? The same NCPB depot in Thika is serving people in Kiambu, people in Muranga, and people in Machakos. And the farmers were saying there was a woman who said that she had come from her home in Kandara in the morning, gotten there, and then she was told you needed to come with your ID. So she went back home to get her ID, came back in the afternoon to the same depot. She was on the queue at 4 p.m. She was number 168 and they were serving number 60. And this is 4 p.m. And so she was sitting back there and thinking, now, surely this whole process just for...
But if you look at one of the things that is posing a major challenge, especially with those counties that are within Mount Kenya, it is fertilizer mostly to do farming with maize and what have you, because looking at the tea and the coffee farmers, they already have their own system of distributing fertilizers.
Yes, indeed.
Naturally, Mount Kenya is not a producer of, other than, say, cereal like rice. We are not producing maize in that magnitude. That is why you will find that in one region spanning to almost Muranga and Kirinyaga, we have one NCPB center that is in Thika, because NCPB centers are set depending on the magnitude at which you produce. Environment and climate has changed. People have ventured into maize farming and other cereal farming within Mount Kenya that were not naturally done in large scale. So that will definitely pose a challenge to NCPB, because they would only have that at any given time. Have you ever heard the Thika NCPB is full of cereals? Not at any given time. You ever heard it is full of, because you see us, we are doing coffee, we are doing tea, we are doing potatoes, we are doing milk. So that we have to agree, it will pose a challenge, because we have people who have now come up wanting to do cereals, and now there is need for NCPB to now spread its wing across Mount Kenya and build more silos, build more centers where they deliver fertilizers and they correct harvest. So that's a challenge, because as a Mount Kenya, we are not really the best in producing of cereals. So we may not necessarily blame government why it did not have an NCPB office in Limuru, where farming of milk and tea is the major thing. So now that things are changing, the government has also to now radically change their system. Number one, of distributing fertilizers, and of course it is the same channel they use to correct bumper harvests from farmers.
You know, if we wait for the government to take the initiative, sometimes we may wait forever. Sometimes it is the market or the individuals who actually bear the brunt of this, who take the initiative, and the government comes in with their systems.
Yes.
But after. Now, there's a question I wanted to ask the two of you. Because the principals seem to have had an understanding, Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, about the discussion. They said, let's have this talk. And then, from both camps, we hear the members talking. Now, you've worked with the politicians, I may take the liberty of referring to the two of you as possibly politicians, but for purpose of this discussion, I'll assume you are not politicians. What do you think these politicians on both sides of this political divide are actually saying? Because when politicians speak, what they're saying is really not what they're trying to communicate. So what are they saying?
We actually have, first of all, what you say is mostly the truth. And we have a lot of hardline positions. The two principles actually have a lot of goodwill, at least from the onset when they talked about this. But you have to understand that sometimes in the political field, we have politicians who survive through a crisis. And the crisis that has been there is political fodder for some people. We have some politicians whose blueprint of delivery is by talking ill of the president and saying he did not win elections, whether it's true or not. But that is the political fodder from where they come from, and that is what makes you get re-elected. And we have people who are creating their political currency through insulting Raila Odinga, talking ill of Raila Odinga. And so we have this brand of politicians where if these two people are supposed to have a conversation and we are supposed to move forward as a country, somebody is going to suffer politically. And that's why you're able to see that most of our conversations, yes, we form a team, which we are calling the 7 aside. But we want to talk more in funerals. We want to talk more in Thanksgiving services. We want to talk everywhere where we're not supposed to talk. And where we are supposed to talk, we are not actually talking. That is where the big challenge is. And just to answer the question is, we have politicians who survive through a crisis. They do nothing. They do not lay any emphasis on the development. They do not lay any emphasis on the practicability of what they were put there to do. Because their whole currency is because I am this side, I must be able to make the other side look bad. And that is how my people will feel like I'm doing something. And that is on both sides of the political divide. And that's why the whole idea of talking is really stalling. Because deep down, in the middle level of the political divide, we have people who actually don't want this conversation to happen.
Mundalo, then that means that the people, these politicians, are responding to what they think their constituents want. So then the problem is with the constituents.
Not entirely, because
that their supporters would not support them if they don't hear them going about with that rhetoric.
Not entirely, because it is not necessarily that the supporters will not support them when they don't go with that rhetoric. But sometimes it is the selfish interest of the politician, because after this rhetoric is done, he has no other thing to serve the supporter. And because I have nothing else I can be able to serve my supporters, I do not have any track record. I do not have anything else. I'm not interested in anything that takes us to a direction where we can have a semblance of a process where there is calmness, and therefore the supporter will then ask, so what have you done as my member of parliament? So what are you doing? Because you see, if I am in the opposition, it is very simple. If I'm asked by the voter what I have done, I'll say we have done nothing because the government has not been able to support us to do anything. But when these two people are able to have a sit down and the country is supposed to move forward, how will I answer my constituents? So yes, we have a problem with the electorate, but we also have a bigger problem with the people holding the political office, because they are also, because the essence why you are a leader is because the reason you are put in front at the head of the pack is you're supposed to lead those people. And so when you take the role and choose to mislead them, we do not entirely blame the population. We blame you because they entrusted you to lead them. So you cannot then blame them for sometimes their own naivety.
You know, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are saying, it's the voter, the electorate, but the bigger thing is here is the politician. The politician would like to keep the voter distracted.
Yeah.
Why is the voter accepting to be distracted?
Because you see, we are in a country where, and sometimes those are some of the problems and demerits of democracy, because we are in a country where the bigger percentage is illiterate, but yet we...
Which one? This one of ours?
Yeah, in this republic, we are in a country.
In this country?
In this country...
The larger population of this country is illiterate.
Because when we talk about university education, for instance...
That's not what determines illiteracy, Baba.
Yes. Let me use... Just give me that. What I'm using is education.
Yes.
And what I'm using is education as a background.
Okay.
To then judge that illiteracy.
What
I know
level
it can have many aspects. But then university education in this country is not to the extent of maybe some of the developed people in the developed world. And therefore, we have a voting population where some people, most of our people, would not really even understand what are the real functions of, for example, their member of parliament, their senator. And that's why you see leaders struggling to do what is not necessarily their mandate.
You need university education for that.
You don't need... you need literacy for that.
Okay.
You need to you need literacy for that, because the sensitization bit.
Literacy levels in this country are not below 80%.
My friend, they're 90.
There you
go. Let me say this.
So if we have a literacy level of 90%, then we cannot say that we have an illiterate population.
And that's why I said my basis is more.
So that I jump in.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Kenyans vote the way they vote, because this country has never cultivated, has never believed in what is called political parties ideologies. It's one of the missing things. There isn't a drive for any political agenda in this country. The drive is only to get power and capture power. I'll give an example. In your entire lifetime, you will never see the Conservative Party of Britain working in a coalition with the Labour Party. Because why? Their political beliefs, the set of beliefs that the Conservative believe in, and the set of beliefs the Labour Party believes in, do not meet anywhere. Because you will find that the Conservative Party is seen to advance the agenda of internal security, agenda of...
It's like a private enterprise.
Yes, private enterprise. On the other hand, you will find the Labour Party wanting to invest on military and all those...
On social matters.
And social matters and those things. Go to the US, you will find the Democrats and the Republicans have a very elaborate set of beliefs that drives the political party. Now, today, it is the reason why someone is jumping from KK today, and tomorrow he is a member of Azimio, because there isn't anything that defines it. There is nothing that defines the agenda of the party. And that is why the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta would walk into a room with the leader of opposition and come out with a handshake. People who are preaching and almost preach in this country in a matter of hours can work together, because the driving agenda is personal interest. It has nothing to do with development. It is never to do with development or what a certain political party believes. And I also want to involve my brother here. The research has shown that we have a relatively between 1.4 to 1.5 million people with degrees in the Republic. 400 of those are said to be fake degrees. It is, yes, 400,000 are said to be fake degrees. So that means this country has about slightly over 1 million people with legitimate degrees. Can you actually equate the literacy of this country that has a population of how many?
50
million to the education, university education? I think that would be an insult to those people who could not get access to quality education or access finance to finance their education. And that is why I was part of the team that went to High Court to stop the IEBC from demanding a degree from governors to be able to vie an MCS. You remember it was supposed to have taken place. And I felt that that particular thing was actually amending our constitution and our Bill of Rights, because by saying you need a degree, you have already disqualified about 49 million Kenyans from holding elective positions in the country. So I will not say that Kenyans are not literate. They are very literate. I've been involved in the political process. I sit with mamas uko mama mboga na nini, na huwezi ibia mama mboga pesa yake. So as long as someone can count his wealth, you cannot put that person in the illiterate level. So it is not the literacy that is making Kenyans go the way they go and choose the people. We do not have a defined political ideologies in this country that a Kenyans would say, I am choosing ODM, I am choosing UDA because of they believe 1, 2, 3 things, and these they are policies. We don't have that in this country. And
because of that,
yes,
then that Kenyan is able to be swayed by the politicians.
This is it. Exactly. This is it. Politicians have taken advantage of that space where there is no definition of what any party stands for. I'll give you an example. In 1997, you know that Kenyans in Mount Kenya would not have voted for Raila Odinga or any other person, but comes the former Limuru MP George Nyanja and vied in Limuru constituency with inaitwa NDP, the Tinga. You remember the one that had Tinga, the one with Raila Odinga. But Kenyans, they did not care whether Nyanja came with Odinga's party. They still elected him because he had made the people in Limuru believe it is him, regardless of what party I come with. Mimi ndio mbunge. And that is a problem. Let me tell you, in the US, you are defined, number one, by the party that you stand for. What does that party that you are bringing to us? You want to become the senator of Texas. You want to become the senator of South Carolina. You want to become. You must bring the conservative agenda to those people for them to elect you. They want to reassure that the right to hold guns in the South is protected. Those people in the middle states want to believe that the rights to LGBT is guaranteed by government. There are certain set of beliefs that drives the politics of that country. In this country, the only set of beliefs is believing in Sid here and believing in you here, believing in Modibo, who, I mean, tomorrow can be in Kenya Kwanza, and the other day he can be in a broken Jubilee. So that's a problem in this country. There isn't
Is it really a problem?
No, let me tell you.
Is that really a problem?
I'll tell you, it is a problem.
Why?
That if we do not, because as long as we stay in that state, it means every government that comes is not really driven by the need to change any narrative, say economic narrative or what. That also means the youths that are there on the ground might remain at the same place. And that means if they do not get an economic empowerment, I will still come after 5 years and sue them to supporting me. And that is what we have been, the crap we have been fed.
But you know, the system you speak of, the one you find in the US and the UK, when you speak of strongholds, for instance, you'll be told, this is a it's a blue zone. It's a red zone.
Yeah.
If you go to Britain, you'll find the same. They'll tell you in the north, these are Labour people.
In the south, these are conservatives.
The principle isn't really that different. Even when it comes to people following leaders as individuals, you will find that what we are saying in this country, ours gets a negative tinge because we say it is based on tribe. Okay?
Yeah.
And again, I'll ask the question, and what is wrong with that?
Let me tell you, as he comes in, personally, I don't see anything wrong with me being a Kikuyu. I'm actually proud of being from the Mount Kenya. Yes. What becomes the problem is when we start spinning it for negative issues, because of negatives. I'll tell you.
Let's focus. It's not when we start spinning it, when the politician spins it and we choose to believe them. Because it is them who spin it.
No, let me tell you. I that is why now, again, I part ways with you. Let me tell you. Kenyans have accepted to become tribal by nature. Politicians have no power over you if you know that tribe cannot be used as a negative thing against you. Let me tell you, you always swing someone. It is like the way we talk about corruption on the highways. There is a willing giver and a willing person to receive it. So let me tell you, when politicians come to spin our minds, we have already given them what we call a ripe ground to come and do.
What I'm asking is, Muchendo, are they really spinning our mind?
No, the problem, and I'll tell you, and I have said, the moment we base our politics on individuals, there's nothing wrong in believing that Cindy can change Limuru constituency, for instance. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you believe that he has told you that regardless of the party, he will deliver, and you know it is a lie, because delivery of services will depend on the principles of the government of the day. I will give you an example where these problems, look at our churches and religious leaders. You find that someone is a pastor for so many years. He is hitting 80 without having chosen a successor. That is why you have ended up with hundreds and hundreds of denominations. This is the same case with our political parties, because people like Raila Odinga and other people, like now the Honorable William Ruto is the leader of KK. By the time he is exiting, we know he can only be a president for 10 years. So that means by the time you are hitting the end of your first term, you must now start thinking of succession and prepare succession. It is the reason why this country has found itself where it is, because Uhuru did not have a successor.
But why
that is why
Uhuru
he would have backed up Perennial Ruza.
When we have an election.
No, what I am saying is.
No. What
let me finish. Listen.
Okay,
what I am saying is.
I think let Mundalo come in. And first of all, I want to start by telling in about a minute, so we go to the news and then we continue. To stop calling Jubilee a broken party. Jubilee is the third largest party in the Republic.
I'm actually very generous today. I'm not calling it a different.
On the same note. Where I want to agree with Peter is on the aspect of our country's political ideology is not anchored on political parties. Our political parties, and that's why you can be able to see today the ORPP disburses funds to political parties. We have a lot of accountability issues in terms of the country. Everyone wants to know where the money in the ministry went, where the money in wherever went, but very little interest is there to know what did my political party do with the money that was given. So I agree that there is actually, until we anchor our politics and really instill a lot of institutionalism into our political parties, so that our people can be able to know that Kenya Kwanza stands for this and this stands for that. As it is now, ours is about more individuals. We have people who, even if we changed the name Azimio, and even if the name remained Azimio, and
Ruto came in
and took it over, his supporters like Mushendu will move with him.
But it's true.
If Kenya Kwanza was to have Raila Odinga as the leader,
it's 9 o'clock, time for the news. Mundalo Advise, he's the National Youth Chair of Jubilee Party. Peter Mushendo, governance expert. In the next hour, you open up the phone lines. Join the conversation.
Spice up your life.
The news at the top of the hour. The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is News. I am Dennis Aseto. Fierce fighting across Sudan has left hopes for a peaceful transition to civilian rule just but a dream. Forces loyal to two rival generals are vying for control, and as is so often the case, civilians have suffered the most, with dozens killed and hundreds injured. A power struggle is at the center of the fighting. At the heart of the clashes are two men: Sudan's military leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the commander of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Until recently, they were allies. The pair worked together to topple ousted Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir in 2019 and played a pivotal role in the military coup in 2021. However, tension arose during negotiations to integrate the RSF into the country's military as part of plans to restore civilian rule. This as Kenyans standing in Sudan fear for their safety after the college was attacked by the Rapid Support Forces special militia last night. Reports indicate that there has been fierce fighting and the Sudanese army began to invade students' quarters before attacking the tuition block. Students were advised to turn off the lights, lie down and remain silent during the ordeal. Here is just sounds and sights of what is happening in Sudan.
وقعت في الصف يا جماعة في بيت محمد إبراهيم بس حاجة فوزية لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
Yesterday, the Peace and Security Council of the African Union called an emergency meeting to discuss the political and security situation in Sudan. And the United Nations World Food Programme has temporarily halted all operations in Sudan after 3 of its employees were killed in clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces a day earlier. 3 WFP employees were killed and 2 injured in clashes in Kabia in North Darfur. The WFP did not specify their nationalities. Meanwhile, Kenya Airways has cancelled all flights into and out of Khartoum, according to a statement by KQ. The decision was reached at following the reported unrest in Sudan's capital Khartoum. While apologizing to its customers for the inconvenience caused, the airline has advised all its customers to get in touch with the Customer Excellence Center for further information. The power struggle between Sudan's army and a notorious paramilitary force has rocked the country, with several civilians reported dead. Residents dodged gunfire in the capital Khartoum as rival forces battled over presidential palace and army headquarters. Reports indicate that over 50 people have died thus far. And police officers in Moya are investigating the murder of Simon Nyaga, who was reportedly waylaid and attacked on his way home over the weekend. His body was discovered by the roadside by passers-by on their way to Tongonya shopping center in Moya. Moya East Sub-County Police Commander Daniel Getavi confirmed the incident and appealed to the public to volunteer information that may assist in the probe. The body has been taken to Kibugi Funeral Home Kutus, waiting post-mortem. The motive of the killing could not be immediately established. And good news, international church pastor Paul Nthenge Mackenzie is expected in court today to answer the murder charges. According to the head of investigation department in Malindi, Charles Kamau, Mackenzie, who surrendered to the department last week, will be arraigned in court together with his followers who are found in the bush in Shakahola. Kamau says the followers will be charged with attempting to commit suicide, while the pastor faces murder charges, spreading false beliefs, among other charges. The court previously ordered the exhumation of the graves located in the bush, an activity they say may take place this week. Political leaders led by Kilifi Governor Gideon Mung'aro have called on the judiciary not to release the pastor due to the deaths witnessed among his followers.
Himizo wakazi wetu wa Kilifi kwamba hii dini ya kwamba unaweza kufunga bila maji na kunywa, hata Waislamu wanashinda kufunga siku moja. Mbona huomsikia amefunga mwezi mzima hali kwa sababu amefunga? Ifika jioni wanakula kwa nini? Unahitaji maji, mwili unahitaji nguvu. Sasa hii ni dini ya kupotosha watu. Wito wangu ni kwamba watu wajiepushe na hiyo, lakini sisi pia tutachukua hatua. Toka jana kuna msako unaendelea kwa msitu. Kuna tetesi kwamba kuna zaidi ya watu 31 walizikwa kwa hiyo msitu, ambao walikufa na watu hawakujua. Hiyo pia inaangaliwa na polisi sasa, wanashirikiana na watu wa forest wachimbe waone ni wapi. Lakini kuna kijana mmoja alipona na anajaribu kusaidia polisi kuelekeza. Sababu anasema alipopona kuna wenzake wawili walizikwa.
This is News Wire. I'm Dennis Onseta. Good morning.
So it's still crazy on Outer Ring Road because of that accident early in the morning. A matatu had overturned on Outer Ring on your way to Babadogo. Now it's caused an entire snarl-up. Outer Ring Road going into Thika Super Highway at the area of Babadogo, Ruaraka, very, very busy. This is also affecting Outer Ring Road entry, and therefore it stretches into Thika Super Highway. So the traffic stretches all the way to Garden City Mall, and it's affecting the entire area there. Maroroi Road as well is busy into Outer Ring. After that, it clears up to drive in to Survey to Kenya Utalii College. Somebody is saying that they've spent about 30 minutes between NYS and Muthaiga. Yeah, but it's moving now. Muthaiga is now actually clear. Kiambu Road is clear. The other road is Langata Road, and this is between T-Mall into Makadara, into Nyayo Stadium, and into, what's this called? Into Bunyala roundabout. It's also very, very, very busy. But also, nothing major to report there. I don't know the cause of that. If you know, let us know. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
8
the
minutes after
Situation
9,
Room.
the conversation
The only
continues
way
into the final hour of the Situation Room this Monday morning, 17th day of April 2023. Peter Mushendo, governance expert, and Mundalo Advice, National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. We continue. As we're getting into the news, we're talking about our political system. And, you know, the contention here is who actually controls the other. Is it the politician who controls the populace, or is it the populace that controls the politician? Starting from the politicians, as we see them, you know, taking these hardline stances and coming to speak. Mundalo, you had said earlier, they're actually responding to what they expect their constituents to be demanding. So they're coming there dancing so that they retain favor with the electorate. And then the other one, we went again to Mushendo saying, but then these politicians are actually the ones who are coming to keep dazzling us with issues because there is no political party ideology. This system of ours that we have in this country, is it who's in control, City?
Actually, we are all in control.
Collaboratively, bipartisans.
Yes, we are all in control. To understand the concept, look at how we all participate in corruption in our own little way, and how we all sanitize it, and we all consider, we baptize it. You give it an acceptable term. Okay? When you're stopped by a policeman, and essentially what you're trading with here is inconvenience. The policeman offers you inconvenience based on a problem perceived, real or otherwise, and you will pay a bribe to remove the inconvenience. But we don't see that as something wrong. But that's our participation.
Yes.
We want our child to go to a school that we consider is favorable. We will find somebody who knows the head teacher.
You call Peter.
Yes, Peter. Si school iko remove Gauss. Si siko kwenu. Sawa. Sasa brother iko hivi Unajuana na mtu MCA pale ni brother ni mtu wangu kabisa. So kwa hii we have it is the norm. We no longer consider bribery as a negative thing in this country. No. We only kick a fuss when the amounts are huge.
I was told it's now being called facilitation.
It is facilitation. It's only when the amounts are huge. It was millions. Nowadays, you mention $1 million, nobody even budges. Billion is when you say no, surely. The complaint is not the act, but surely that amount of money. Meaning we've accepted. You can pilfer a little bit. That's all right. It's facilitation. It's whatever you want to call it, wiping your sweat. It's when it's huge amounts that we
get concerned.
Yes, and that's when it is corruption. But it is not. So when I say it is all of us, I literally mean it. Because even where you thought there might be some shelter in the religious organization churches, same thing.
True.
There are always exceptions to the rule. That's what I'm not referring to exceptions.
Yes.
So we thought with the county governments, we would be able to at least solve some of these problems that have been there for the longest time. Areas that had been marginalized. But the thinkers of that constitution even brought something called an equalization fund. Everything was thought out. Money locally available to you to do what you're supposed to do. We can no longer talk about national government because we all have money in whichever area we come from.
Yeah.
And what happens? It is even worse than what we see in the national government. And by who? Our own people. So, when you say, who is control? All of us.
All of us.
Who is to blame? All of us, if you're going to blame. That's my view.
I think I would more or less agree with that view from this sense. You know, the politician wants to create a narrative that is conducive for them. So we will build a narrative for the people. So the people buy this narrative. For instance, when I talked about talking ill of the other person and making everyone believe that the real problem we have is not in my work. The problem we have is that we are not in government, and that's why we have to be to stay back. So once I create that narrative, the politician creates that narrative for the people. Then the people are also partly to blame because they create problems that are also of convenience to them. For instance, they want you to participate in. The politician is now judged by how much you gave in a funeral. How much you supported weddings, how much, and not necessarily about the work that you are actually supposed to do as a parliamentarian. And so everyone is trading with the other, and that's why we find ourselves in this murky time where we have this kind of confusion. But then I have kept insisting that we have to put the bigger blame on the leader, because the leader has the mandate. The leader was trusted by the people that you can be able to take us forward. And therefore, I don't find it convenient for us to look for the pitfalls in the voting block and then be able to now alienate the leader from the mistakes that they are doing. I think the bigger problem, the bigger portion of the blame should go directly to the person in charge. Because once the people in charge are able to take the nation to the right place, then we'll also change the thinking of the people. Because like we're talking about the political parties, the truth is, in our political parties in Kenya, we have a lot of titles without function. Yeah, the function is squarely in the party leader. So you will go and my friend Malala will be called Secretary General of the ruling party. Lofty, nice. But then, is he really making decisions at that level? Because it is about mostly so once we have the leadership choose to take us in the right place, then slowly by slowly, and even maybe faster than we can actually imagine, we'll move towards the right direction.
But then, we create the terms of reference for that leader. We, the people, you don't like this issue of companies, but let's just use a company, okay?
Yes.
The chairman and the board of the company report to the shareholders of that company. The shareholders place expectations. We want a dividend. At the end, I have invested in this, I want a dividend out of it.
Yes.
Okay? And so the board also places the same expectation of management.
Yes.
Management, you've got to show that this company is growing because I have to report to the shareholders what I am doing by sitting on this board of the company.
Very true.
So it begins with the if the shareholders don't care, then the leaders can do whatever they want. But the shareholders are the ones who actually hold the entire organization in check. Same thing. We as the voter who have put this leader into office, we must show them that we expect this and the other. We expect leadership. And if you don't show leadership, then you come back and we tell you, no, you are the wrong person. You are the wrong person for this. This is why we don't like you. But if we, as a voter, put in a leader, and then we expect this leader to be a comedian, to be coming and entertaining us at funerals and weddings and, come and appear as MC, then we've lost it.
The truth of the matter, and he has said, and I still say that the people have a very big role to play, because most MPs that are elected, and I said it sometimes back here, they are not elected for the right reasons. The people we elect, we do not elect them on the right reasons. The Constitution is very explicit on the roles of a member of parliament. Your role is to legislate, your role is to oversight and represent. Those are the very articulated reasons. But he will tell you, on the ground you will find an MP, amesema, we have put cabros in this class, we have done this, I have taken 10 boys from your village, I've given them employment here, and that is why you are ending up with an entire over half of the assembly not contributing in debate for the entire 5 years. Because that person was not elected on the very mandate articulated by the Constitution. And this is where the problem is. And I told you, I said we should not take away CDF because CDF has done milestones for constituencies in Kenya. But what I had always said is that CDF must be administered in a different way. Allow an MP to actually be elected on the rules of debate. I'll give you, if you go to before CDF came to be, we would have some of the best debates in this country that has had, because people are being elected on their authority in terms of articulating issue. The George Nyanjas of then, the Paul Muitwe of then, the Shemo Chuodo of those days, the Mukisa Kituis of that time, the Peter Munya, who was the Tigania member of parliament, those guys. I mean, I would give everything to sit in the afternoon to listen to the Tuesday debate. You would enjoy the debate because it was purely people are looking at the qualities of that individual, not based on what the CDF has done. And not because if you cannot speak, you cannot articulate issues, you cannot represent.
Peter Moshando was watching and listening and enjoying the quality of debate.
Yes.
Were all those people's voters thinking the same?
That's what I'm saying. We have now brought the issue of, because I have an issue, I have had an issue with our bursary. Because are you aware that 70% of the MPs that have been elected in the current composition are elected on the basis of very silly things like bursary? Because bursary has become a political tool.
Silly.
No, let me tell you, in the way people view it, I see it as a silly way of viewing it. But
what does it tell us?
This is what I'm saying.
If people are being voted in because of this matter you've referred to,
yes,
what does that tell us about the voter? Is the voter not speaking about what they consider to be important?
You see, this is what I am saying. Can I articulate this issue before you get? When the Honorable Mwai Kibaki came to power, we have talked about free primary school education. And we have talked about it, and we have said it is free. But the truth of the matter, it has never been free. Because in a situation where a country is supposed to have free primary school education and free secondary school education, why should we be having parents queuing in chief's camp to fill in forms for bursaries, and the education is supposed to be free? This is my let me tell you, and I say this: if we are giving a check of 500,000 to Gatora Primary School, the day school next to me, and you want to pay for kids, don't make parents go right up and being used as political tools by politicians. Put that money in that school. It's a public school, and every kid should be told, report to school. School fees has been paid, and that is why I'm saying things like bursaries must be separated from the politics of the day, because bursaries, the people who came up with bursaries and they formed it, it was to address the need of taking the African children to school for those parents who could not get it. But that idea has evolved into be used as a political tool, especially the final year of the politics, when we are heading to the elections. Politicians are using bursaries. So things like bursaries should be separated from the politics of the day. If we are paying day school, we are saying, because what I know is that day school is totally free, should be 100% free, unlike a boarding school where you take your kid to your preferred school and you pay for those necessities. I will never understand, and I do not understand why a parent who is taking a child to a day school should be queuing for bursary fund. It should be taken to that school, and the parent is told, take your kid to school and report. Si kushinda umepiga raforeni kwa polisi, kwa pastor, kwa chief, sijui what, and then a certain committee decides whether you qualify or you don't qualify.
Peter, let me ask the question I asked earlier on.
Yes.
What does this tell us about the needs of the voter?
And you see, that's why I said, but the first question about who is in charge, and I said we are trading. Because you see, the needs of the voter are actually those ones that they are speaking to. They need the bursary, they need you to be able to help them in funerals, buy a casket and do this and that. And now, on the other side, we have the politician who also has his needs. Most of our politicians, because they were not elected on the anchorage of exactly what they are supposed to do, and they do not understand exactly what they are supposed to do, they also trade off and say now, in exchange for this, they also sell their own narrative.
But let me just pause there. Are you honestly saying they don't understand? I believe they do. I would rather ask the question. Forgive me for rephrasing what you're saying, but
yes,
why do they behave the way they do?
They behave the way they do, one, because they want to really appeal to that voter. Because most of these members of parliament, most of these politicians will tell you, most of the things you guys want me to do will not elect me. I have sat with some of even my members of parliament at Jubilee, and you want to maybe advance a certain debate even in parliament for them to put up this motion, and they'll tell you, you know what, this thing is going to waste my time. The people out there want me to go there, give bursary. They want me to go there and be able to attend some of these things. They want me to organize a football tournament.
You know, we're talking of a symptom here. It's that really is not the problem. What sort of country do we have when people will go and spend the night outside the chief's place or whoever, in this cold, even in the rain, so that they can get you 1,000 bob, 2,000 bob? What sort of country is that? What do you see happening here? Look, people have faith that certain things will happen when the leaders are elected. They do. Now, is it their fault that they still believe that a leader ought to look after their interest? That a leader is elected to look after their interest. Now, it depends on what they think the interest is. And again, I would ask the question, is it then the duty of the leader to ensure that they behave in a manner that educates the electorate that beyond what they want, there's a lot more the leader has to do for them? Now, our leaders don't seem to do that. So,
but Cindy, the question would be,
yes,
when a leader comes and makes you line up and gives you 200 shillings, and he will repeat this for the last 6-7 weeks of the campaign, because naturally that is what happens. When a leader comes, people are not interested in conversations. They are always, have been in this campaign, they are always agitated and stop you. Mkubwa tuko na mambo ingine ya kufanya, choma kila unachoma tuende. No, the thing is, you took 200 shillings ukapanga for any 4-5 times from that person, and you elected him based on the small change he gave you. What then are you expecting that leader to do?
Actually, Peter,
I think I'm getting you quite more clearly in these terms. You are saying this is the expectation of the voter.
Yes.
But as a leader, I also know my duty. Why can't I be able to also make my voter understand that beyond this, I am supposed to do 1, 2, 3. I'm supposed to legislate. I'm supposed to do that.
You know what Peter is saying?
Yes.
Which is a reality of our politics.
Yes.
Is it the norm, or is it an electorate that has given up? And I figured, you know something? These guys are never going to do what it is we think they're going to do. So, what I can. Let me just take it and go away, because he will not deliver.
If you remember, I told you the first time I was here, 62%, and that was a research that had been done by the European Union at the 2002 election. 62% of Kenyans, they don't go to the ballot to elect someone. They always go to the ballot to punish someone who is on the seat. Yes. And that was, I worked with the European Union in 2002. And that is why you will hear in my mother tongue, they say, iyo kiti lazima kijana ya mwanamke mwingine akalie. They don't really care who will represent. And that is how we ended up with...
Peter, I'm disagreeing with you, and I'm saying they do.
Listen. What I am saying is, Kenyans more or less do not vote with their head.
No, they do.
No, listen. You see, you have one opinion, I have a different opinion.
Yes.
Kenyans more or less, they do not vote with their head. They vote with their emotions. They allow politicians to stir their emotions. And this is the problem. We join Kenyans' emotions are elated, and they are like right now we will come and we will promise you heaven. And then when you take that heaven and mix it with your disappointment of what the previous reader did not do, you do not really interrogate what kind of reader you elect. And I will tell you, the quality of debate he will tell you, and sorry to the members of parliament who are reasoning.
Don't apologize to that group of people.
The quality of debate that is in the current assembly vis-a-vis the last one and the last one continues to deteriorate and continues to go down. And that tells you it is not that Kenyans don't know how to get a good reader. That one I agree with you. They know how to get a good reader. But they make choices based on their emotions then and hatred for the readers that are there.
Peter.
And that's the truth.
Peter, you know something? Huh?
Yes.
This is a discussion we can go around in circles. But let me talk about, in my mind, what are certain absolutes. Huh?
Yeah.
When you aspire to be a leader, you must have an idea of what it is that you are supposed to do for your people, for their benefit. Now, you may benefit inadvertently, but that is what the idea of leadership. Now, it may be theoretical, but I believe that it's a theory that many people believe in. When somebody is elected, why do we hear of voter apathy? Why do we hear of people using the word disappointed in their leaders? Because there were expectations. You can't be disappointed if you didn't have expectations. Now, if you look at the people who believe in their leader, we had Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm going to give you an example.
Yeah.
Uhuru Kenyatta would be insulted. He would just sort of like brush it aside. And he'd say, I'm going to do this. And people say, useless fellow. This fellow is never going to do anything. And I thought to myself, but when you have someone who's tolerant, who gives you an opportunity to change, you feel this person is stupid and this person hana nguvu, they're not a powerful person. When you have somebody who now takes a really hard line and tells you, my friend, if you do this, this will happen, and what he says happens actually happens to you, say, this is a dictator.
He's a dictator.
Okay? Yes, but that's how we look at it.
Yeah.
So long as every person, because we change these leaders, but the person whom you're electing has grown up in this ecosystem where to be a leader means you buy a V8, you live in a certain part of the town, you own certain things. Karen is preferred. It's good environment, sort of thing that helps you legislate well when you're in parliament.
Everybody would love to live.
Environment.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And travel abroad. And while you're at it, in the name of the people, make as much money as you can from per diems or whatever it is. And if you're in lovely select committees that deal with industrialists and businessmen, then you are set and made. What am I saying? I am saying we can talk around in circles as much as we like, but we've created an ecosystem where what we're discussing is not going to come to an end soon. Because it doesn't matter who you elect. They will come with all the values. They get in there.
But you know, this is the thing, and I keep saying, Cindy, we are putting so much expectation on leaders. Let me give you an example.
But we must.
Hold your horses, hold your horses. We have said the Constitution clearly articulates the three reasons why you elect a leader. Apart from the president and the governor, who are the chief executives of their respective department, the rest of the leaders, their roles are very well defined. It is to registrate, to represent, and to oversight. That's the role of a member of parliament. But let me give you an example. In the village where I come from, kama tuko na matanga, when we hold the first committee, the first agenda on the paper is MC ameambiwa, mbunge ameambiwa.
Ametoa nini?
One time I sat in an office with the former Limuru member of parliament, the Honorable Peter Mungai Mwathi, and his personal assistant came. And it was on a Friday. I remember it was on a Friday morning at 10. And the assistant was giving him a list of zile matanga ziko Limuru constituency in the 5 sub wards. And I vividly remember it was counted and it was 45 matangas. What? Now the MP, because it's a vast of 100,000 people, the MP was giving 5,000 shillings. 5,000 shillings for each, for 45 matangas each. Multiply and see how much money is that. The moment that leader doesn't show on a matanga, he will tell you, your judgment day has come. He did not show up. So why won't a leader will not go and steal? Because he is spending 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 every week on things that he was not elected to do in the first place. So when we say that the leaders have messed us,
why are people contributing?
Listen, when we say the leaders that have messed us,
why are people
in,
contributing to the matanga?
You see, let me
hospital
tell you.
bills.
Let me tell
right?
you. Yes.
Hospital bills.
Yes.
Right? Funeral expenses.
Yes.
And those funeral expenses are, kununua jeneza, kununua nini. That's usually the lower part.
Yes.
The bigger part is if there's a hospital bill.
Yes.
Now, this representative of the people,
yes,
who has represented them, who has oversighted, what has he done? So that let's I have an issue. Latif, I have an issue with it is because that MP has not done the job.
No. It is also our people have also decided, because I'll tell you, on a personal level, I am not an elected leader. I sit down with border guys and I tell them, we do not need to be coming to your Harambes. We need you to be registered with NHIF. We facilitate ourselves to bring the NHIF people to the ground. You even go ahead and tell them, because for you to be registered and active, you at least have to pay for 2 months. We will try and get something small. Go get something small. You can be registered at NHIF and become a contributor, because you at least earn 300 shillings. The concept, the moral decay in our people is also something we must not learn away from. As much as the leader is to blame, because I am not here to sanctify the qualities of our leaders in Kenya, because it is very wanting. Even our people, there is a saying that says the leadership we have today is a reflection of who we are as a people. Let us not just blame the leaders. The moment you want him to attend in every matanga, I thought matangas we attend depending on how we are related and how close we are each other. It is not a political responsibility for any leader to come to your Harambe or to come to your Matanga. But when you people demand that these leaders must come, what will they do? They will increase their salary, they will increase their per diem, because they have to meet the needs that in the first place they were not elected to go and...
Time for that break. 27 minutes to 10. Kenya's biggest conversation. Peter Mushendo, governance expert, and the National Youth Chair of Jubilee Party, Bundalo Advice. Have you called Kingdom Bank? You call them on 0709 881300. That's 0709 881300, because they have this perfect way of making you grow your wealth. They say you can earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 shillings on their fixed or call deposits for periods of 3, 6 and 12 months. Visit any of their branches today or call that number 0709 881300. Songa mbele na Kingdom Bank. Terms and conditions apply.
You know,
are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
They say blood is thicker than water. But is it really? Follow the story of a young girl whose entire life gets turned upside down when she learns the shocking truth about her father's identity. Drama ensues as she fights to find her place in the world in Second Family, a brand new Showmax telenovela starring Vanessa Okeo, Brian Ogola, and others. Subscribe to watch it now, only on showmax.com.
Partly sunny conditions in Nairobi today. Current temperature 16 is going to rise to 23. Mombasa partly sunny 28. Partly sunny in Malindi at 28. Kisumu sunny at 23. Nyeri sunny at 18. Nakuru sunny at 18 as well. Kakamega sunny at 23 and Eldoret sunny at 18. Kampala very cloudy morning at 22. Sunny in Johannesburg at 14. Cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 26. Lagos cloudy at 26, Kinshasa cloudy at 24, Beijing mostly sunny at 20, London cloudy at 9, New York cloudy at 13, and Paris cloudy at 7. It has improved dramatically, very, very much on Thika Superhighway. Now, the only problem is between Muthaiga Square and the Pangani interchange. After that, it's clear. But Outer Ring Road is still problematic. This entire area of Babadogo, as you join Thika Superhighway, that is a problem. As you get into Thika Superhighway, it's fine. Okay? Now, the roads within the CBD are also looking quite busy now. Uhuru Highway getting into the CBD is also busy, especially at Haile Selassie roundabout and then into Kenyatta Avenue roundabout and University Way roundabout as well. Jogoo Road has been busy, as it always is. Around Makadara is still busy, and then you get to City Stadium roundabout, that's busy. Nyayo Stadium roundabout is also busy. Langata Road has cleared now. Aerodrome Road is also clearing, and there's nothing else major to report.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
To 10 to the end of the conversation. Mundalo Advice is the National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party, and Peter Mushendo is the governance expert. We're talking about leadership. Mundalo now come in.
Yes.
Mushendo was talking about we, the people, are also piling enough pressure on the Mheshimiwa. So Mheshimiwa has to go and do all those things that he's doing because we are expecting so much from him.
Yes. And I was just coming in. There was something very nice that City had asked about, talked about the leader knows why they're in office. And I was just posing the challenge that in the current dispensation, the qualification for you to run for elective office is not necessarily how much you know about that office. Most of the qualification is about how much money you have for you to run for that office. And this is what is pushing us into having people who sometimes have very little or even no understanding of their role in itself. And because of the nature of the way our politics is taking, the shape it's taking, it is discouraging the people who actually understand the role and the people who would actually take the country forward from participating. Because yes, we have someone who has all the leadership qualities. Yes, you are a person who the constituency needs, but you don't have enough money to run. And so these people are taken aback. In the 2022 election, I can argue, we have places where all the options the people had were bad options. There was no good option. Yes, you had 4 candidates running, but you look at them, and all of them, there is no better option. Because even the people who are supposed to be the better option have shunned away from politics. They have been able to stay back because they feel this is becoming too expensive for their understanding. And I was just arguing that, during the nomination process, we were having people who you ask them, why do you want to be member of parliament, for instance? And some young people would be able to say, yeah, I want to be a member of parliament because I am young and it's time for the young people. So you wonder if that is a reason for you to become a member of parliament. And yet we had the older folk who also sat in our vetting committees and told us, you see, let me be the member of parliament now. You see, I'm a bit old. This other one can come later. You see, and those are becoming bases on which people want to actually get into office and get elected. And you see, the biggest difference that we're having in this argument is, I think, what Mushendu was arguing is actually, we have a thin line between politics as it is and politics as it ought to be. City is discussing politics as it ought to be. We are discussing the politics as it is today. Yes. The truth is, this is the expectation of the common person. The truth is, City, when you go to your village and give people NHIF, the reaction...
Didn't give them. And show them how to get it.
Exactly, and show them how to get NHIF. Between you doing that and a member of parliament doing it, the reaction of the people is very different. From you, they see a lot of philanthropy. But from their member of parliament...
And a future MP.
And a future MP. That's how they saw you. They see you.
They will see on you from a futuristic...
Yeah. But from their member of parliament, trust me, they expect way more than that. Way more than that. They want to see the practicability of him.
They ought to expect more than that because he's the leader. What basically the message I see is that these people are saying, look, why is it that we have such a hefty hospital bill? It's because systems are not working. We put you there to go and represent us and go and talk about the plight. We want you to feel the pinch so that you can go and represent us better. Probably. Can go there and say, you know what, we don't have hospitals that are working in this my constituency. You know, the hospital bills are so high for people. How can we put in a system that addresses this challenge? Until that leader goes and addresses those things in parliament by allocating budget, by making sure that there are more hospitals that are being created, that have been constructed, by making sure that the health system is working. Universal health coverage, they've been talking about it, like it's some manna coming from heaven. Until they actualize it,
yes,
Mheshimiwa will feel the pinch.
But
Mheshimiwa will foot the bill.
But let me tell you, do you know that actually most of these funerals actually some of them don't actually have even those hospital bills. Funeral expenses and contributions in these matangas in the village, it is the first thing that happens after someone dies. It has nothing to do with whether there is a hospital bill or not. The first thing they do is, first of all, they create a committee na tunaanza mchango. First thing. So it is not necessarily, let's not make it look like these things only happen when there is a hospital bill. Actually, it is not. So we have the culture. It's actually a culture inculcated in the people. When they come to a place, a funeral, we want to know MCA alitoa pesa ngapi. These members of parliament some of them have up to 50, 30 funerals they're supposed to deal with every weekend. And that draws a line where now this person wonders where he should be dealing with the legislation idea that he's actually mandated to, or dealing with these issues of his people. And then, as a politician, he's going to look at what is going to get him elected.
Let me ask you this question.
Not what is going to get him famous.
Just accept this situation that you describe and say, this is the way we are and this is the way we should continue?
No.
It's our reality.
And that is our reality. But now my argument is this. The leader has to start making the people aware, where I agreed with you, that beyond this, there is more that I can do. But now we have formed this culture where we want to blame the people for all their issues.
Something, my brother.
Yes.
We all know these so-called elected leaders will not do what you're saying. Now, these people who have the ability, who understand things, but decide that they don't want to be elected, who says you must present yourself to be elected for you to be a leader in a community? Where is it written? You don't have to. You know this.
It's true.
All these people who are chairman of boards of management of schools.
Yes.
Yeah, they're actually very serious voices within the community.
Yes.
Are you telling me that such people cannot get communities to actually galvanize their own strength and work? There is this place we're calling the mountain now.
Yes.
In colonial times, because the missionary had settled here, because this reminded them of some lush lands in their countries,
yes,
they brought about the education system, which was essentially a copy of what they had. But for the African, it was watered down.
Yes.
It was Africans were being forced to do what the Mzungu felt would feed into whatever they wanted. Here in central Kenya, they decided they were going to create independent schools. Independent. They saw the system and said, no, here, we're going to settle our own. Now, what that brought about was a very fast an escalation of learning among the communities there. Why? They took individual, meaning the community decided this is what we are going to do. Now, with independence and what have you, then came what we then call the Harambee schools. Now, you know what happened? With time, the government took over these Harambee schools. So when one looks at the schools in certain parts of the so-called mountain, you'll find there are very many schools. But many of them were started by the Wananchi, the villagers. Okay?
Yes.
When the government took over, many things happened and they became better. Now, I am simply saying there is a thought process. The system that you're describing isn't different from the colonial one. Meaning, people who are supposedly in charge and who are our people and who are black like us decide the citizens will be treated exactly the same way the colonialists treated them. Now, the Mwananchi needs to understand that there are things these people will not do for you. It's the simple truth. They will not do. It doesn't matter how much money we have, they simply will not do. So, you have to decide what you're going to do for yourselves. That is the point at which now, these many individuals who are more than the MP, who have the ability, who have the thought, who even get involved in these political processes, they have to take that step. If their communities are to get out of this mud that we keep talking about, and people seem determined to stay here.
But you know, the unfortunate thing, City, you're talking about those people who are chairing board of governors in schools. Some become CDF chair, others become parastatal chairs or board of directors. It is a process in the making, and the end result, it is to become that very leader you want us to disregard today. Don't be lied to that someone is driving from here. Very few people. There are few people who do it out of love for the community. But I can tell you the biggest chunk, they do it in preparation of entangling themselves with the community so that the community can know them. So that's the day when they whisper, I want this. They have prepared the ground enough to get them there. Because I will tell you, some of the MPs.
Do you want to be elected at some point?
Not at this time. I have never thought of elective politics.
But at some point,
maybe some points I will. You see, but the point is, I know you are asking that to try and invalidate my argument. But the point is, let me finish. The point is, I wanted to say. Some of the MPs, you see, there were chairmans of dailies, there were chairmans of this and chairmans. I can tell you a list of like over 200 people who are in the community. And now, these are the very people who are driving agendas of the community when they were.
Yeah.
But the moment they got elected and they became Mheshimiwa, their the span and the scope of what they do drastically changed. Members of public decided the moment you are sworn in as a minister, members of the public see you as a millionaire automatically. They don't care whether you got there with money or without. Wanajua ni mheshimiwa na lazima mheshimiwa atulete. And I'll tell you, as you have said, even those of us who would be willing to work with the community must also be willing to change. The community must also be willing to work with us. The community, I've seen a lot of Scandinavian-funded NGO work here in Kenya, trying to teach the community on advocacy and all those things. But is community willing to actually take that time? Because, let me ask you, if a chief calls for a baraza that is supposed to address the issues of watu watoe mipaka yao barabarani so that the county government or Kera or Kula can actually do the roads, how many people show up? No, because let us face the fact that yes, the leadership might be latent to the core as we are trying to say, but that leadership, City, is a reflection of who we are as a people. And that change has to start with Mwananchi. Because City, you cannot have your cake and eat it. You cannot describe the disadvantages, hundreds of them, of a leader, And then you also say that the communities must come together. How else does community come together if they do not rally behind a certain leadership, whether elected or yes?
You are a serious mobilizer.
Yes.
And without you, the Mheshimiwa would not be able, people like you.
Yes.
And there are others who work for you.
Yes.
They're around 3 tiers from you. Okay.
Yes.
All these fellows are leaders. All of them are leaders. And people listen to all of them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is what's happening, and I'll tell you.
Yes.
When you have leaders who have been given way too much responsibility than they are supposed to handle, and you have City here who wants to go to his village and do something.
Yes.
You try to push a narrative, and you wonder why people are not buying it. There are people who are at the back working against you because they feel like you have become a threat to them. And this is a problem, man. I will tell you. The moment we stop putting our leaders to be responsible on things that they are not supposed to be responsible. Because today, you find, and I know it is, because it is our case in our community and his case, most leaders, hii matanga imekuwa like it is a gauging
platform.
It is a gauging platform for electing leaders. That is why we are heading up with leaders who cannot fulfill the promises because we have put too much effort on them. And then we have headed up with leaders who have no idea why they got elected to parliament.
Let me give the
example.
It's
the unfortunate sad truth.
Let me give the example of up today when we are talking development. I think over 70% of our leaders will refer to the President Mwai Kibaki regime. They will always say Kibaki hakutuacha hapa sijui nini, this thing was better during Kibaki's time. But you remember that in 2007, between 2002 and 2007, I think that was where the bulk of the work of President Kibaki was done. But President Kibaki was, if there is an election that almost everyone believes was won by Raila Odinga, is the 2007 one. Despite the work that had been done. That points to the reality that our politics there is more than just the work. Apart from the work, there is a lot that goes in the politics of everything. Our people do not necessarily always respond to your work as a president, your work as an MP. There is more that goes into that.
There's a social angle.
There is a social angle into it. We have had some of Honorable Raphael Tuju, when he was Member of Parliament. I think at that time, he was ranked the best performing Member of Parliament in Rarieda constituency. But he was greatly thrown out. At some point, he would not even enter that constituency. And the voters told him, you can wrap that road. They told him, wrap it up as a carpet and go with it. And so we have more that goes into this than just what how we are looking at it from you're able to see. Yes. So the politics of our country is not as we cannot just look at it from the surface value.
City asked,
more. Yes.
Should we then accept it? We should just say, okay, so this is where we are. Yeah. So now, Sawa.
No. It is not accepting it and saying, so we have nothing we can do. But first of all, we have to accept that is the truth of the matter. Now, once we accept that is the truth of the matter, we now canvass the next point, and that's why I keep
the root action on how to
now,
resolve.
How do we move away from that? Now, and my approach is the best way we can be able to move away from that is to push the change to be top down rather than
bottom up.
Kenya Kwanza as bottom up.
And you just
if we change the leaders, we must be able to push. Remember, the leaders quickly respond to narratives that are heavy on them. The moment we're able to push leaders into going beyond what they are already doing, not necessarily from a people perspective, but through the media. We have a lot of we have the media, we have the civil society. If these leaders can be pushed to that perspective, so that the leader can start pushing that sensitization down to the people, it will work better than if we are going to say we are going to expect that the people are going to change and elect better, have better representation. Remember, in the first instance, the politics as it is today has already discouraged most of the people who are supposed to move the country forward. Most of the people who would actually do the work have refused to now get out of their offices because they look outside and feel how am I going to survive that storm in the political arena? This is a person who is a CEO. This is a person who is that chairman you're talking about. Those people, as time goes by, they are not actually participating in politics. And we have already pushed the narrative that politics is dirty. So every clean person is avoiding politics. And unfortunately, the politics affects the policy formulation.
You know why Raila Odinga is referred to by so many names, an enigma, a this and the other?
Yes.
Most of it is historical. What Raila was as a young person.
Raila Engima.
Yes. What he was, you know, when he left Ford Kenya, that history.
Yes.
What he was associated with.
Yes.
Radicalism of the extreme and all that. And he wasn't alone in it.
Yes.
Now, it required a strong armed government like that one we had for someone like that to mature in. In a democracy, that sort of politics won't go very far. Because because the freedom is already there.
And our democracy, just finish, because I can see our time is going and you're gonna eat. You see, let me tell you, our democracy
10 seconds.
Yes, our democracy is not mature enough to be able to allow people to materialize and grow. I wanted to say this before this guy gets to take my time.
It's over. Amen.
You need to follow up the issue I raised here for Limuru Daily, because the governor has refused to give us the money.
And he has also refused to come here and respond. He's been dodgy left, right and center. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Peter Mushendo, a governance expert, and Mundalo Advice, National Youth Chair, Jubilee Party. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. We conclude with this final call for you to go to showmax.com, look at the packages that they have, because you can get to watch Kenya's first telenovela. It's called Second Family, starring Ian Mbogwa and others. Gatehi and the Langat families. Watch. It's some very good drama. They also have other interesting Showmax Fast content. Good morning, 10 a.m. Have a lovely day.
Spice up your life